Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake
and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes, amazing! We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
We love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How
me
are you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break, man.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode 154 and we're your host Jake
And Matt.
and we're going to be covering all the events of Matchday 17 in Serie A with our new format.
Yes, our new format. Should I just get into that immediately? We're no longer going to do a game-by-game rundown because we're always tight for time at the end. We get carried away with some of the games. And it also doesn't really allow us to sit back and have more conversational stuff for you guys. It's more presenting. So what we want to do with this format is less presenting and more discussion. We'll still go through the rundown and we'll actually add some more information to the rundown, some more conversation to the rundown as well. But we will be talking about bigger picture things. We'll talk about the title race. We'll talk about the relegation battle. We'll talk about the Roman teams, so on and so forth.
Yes, every time we post one of our specials that are always more conversational, people react very positively. And we thought, why not give it a go? See how it goes. Obviously, you don't need to worry. We'll still be focusing a lot on the smaller teams because that is our passion over here.
That is us. That's Serie A Spotlight.
Yes, we've just come back from our holiday, of course. We missed Inter 6 Lazio 0, which was quite crazy. We missed Shea Adams scoring from half pitch. We missed Milan wearing really cool kits in a 0-0 board draw to Genoa.
We were watching it in a really weird restaurant, actually.
Yes, a very strange restaurant, yes.
With the guy from the bar.
This guy came up to us, but I'd never seen him or met him before. He went, "Hi, I'm the guy from the bar."
He was our waiter, like, I'm the guy from the bar.
Obviously, English not being his first language, but that was just hilarious. And we also missed the first ever Indonesian goal in Serie A.
This is absolute bullshit.
Jay, it says against Juve, their 2-2 draw, of course.
Absolute bullshit. And we missed the dogs walking out for the Milan-Verona game.
Yes, but that's right now. So
we didn't miss it.
We haven't missed it yet.
But
we won't now because you mentioned it.
Exactly.
Thank you very much to our patrons. The patron list has become quite long as well. So from now on, we have a new incentive. We're going to have our patron of the week.
Yes.
Okay. This will, of course, encourage more engagements, and not that we need more engagement in the chat, but I think it would be quite interesting. Shall we give our first patron of the week, bro, award?
Our first patron of the week award is gonna go to my nemesis, Pieter. And it's for creating his own custom Serie A Spotlight merch with our artwork, and it looks insane. So, Pieter, you are our patron of the week. Thank you very much, brother. And we love that you're sporting and advertising us wherever you're going. And then we also have a runner-up.
There's an honorable mention to Alan.
Alan, of course,
who
yes.
broke down the Forlani interview that happened a while back that came out recently. He broke it down in the chat. We're not going to get into it too much over here.
He saved us a 40-minute video. So thank you very much,
the
Alan.
Americanization of AC Milan.
Exactly. And if you guys are new here and you don't have $3.99 a month to spare and become a patron and join the Fantasy League and get to chat in the chat with us, at least do give us a 5-star rating wherever you're getting your podcast. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube. DM us. We love engaging with you guys. So do get in touch with us if you have any questions or if you just want a little culture chat.
Yes, and the winner of our Fantasy League will win a free kit.
Exactly.
Of
their choice.
Of their choice, yes.
Exactly.
You can an official kit. You can pick
Milan,
you can pick Venezia, you can pick Lucca, and if we can't order it and deliver it to you, we'll just send you the money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, shall we exchange our gifts? Fantasy update. Yes, sorry. We've got a new name, brother.
Jake is so excited.
Yes, I'm getting a gift, bro. Of course I'm excited. Joey D is in first place, and once again he's changed his name to something brilliant.
Tijani Bravo.
Tijani Bravo. That's absolutely brilliant. Renegades are in second, while Pieter is in third.
Exactly. So if you guys missed it, why are you and Jay giving each other gifts? Basically, every occasion, every Christmas, every birthday, Jake and I get each other football kits with a player name at the back, just some player that either we've been admiring, some team we've been admiring. I've gotten Jake a Saponara kit at Fiorentina in the past. Jake's gotten me an Insigne kit for Napoli because people know that those are two players that we have a strong liking to. Last year I got you a Cope Miners Atalanta kit.
We've got so many niche ones over here.
Yeah, you got me a Scalvini one. So last year it was two Atalantas. We had a feeling that we're getting each other the same kit this year. You guys know because we told you in the last episode while the other person was covering their ears. Our girlfriends know, they said it's not the same kid, but I don't trust them. Let's do a rock, paper, scissors. And the winner gets the kit first.
Sure.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
This is going to be the rest of the episode.
Oh, I get the kit first.
Get kit first.
Oh my god.
So I assume neither of us have wrapped it, right?
No, bro. Mine's in the FedEx, a la piece of paper.
Mine's in a box. So switch over to YouTube, guys, for this part.
I'll try my best to do some commentary in case you're listening on Spotify.
Jake is handing Matthew the box.
Exactly. So okay, I'm holding a box right now. Shall I do a prediction?
Yeah, prediction.
Maybe like Nico Paz Como or some shit.
That's a nice guess. Open it in front of the camera.
Oh yes, you're right.
What do you see?
I see black, I see green.
Ooh, Sassuolo.
Pink.
Oh, there's
no
pink.
Way.
Who is it?
No way, it's a Milan kit. And let's see who's at the back. Oh, Tiani Reinders.
And it's long sleeved, bro.
Oh, Tiani Reinders. Fucking love
I was gonna get
bro.
you the vintage one for the 125th anniversary, but it has no name. It only has the
number at the back. No, bro, this is fucking brilliant. Thank you so much, man.
No problem.
And Reinders, you couldn't have gone wrong with Reinders.
Of course, he's balling out. And
thank you very much, bro.
Since I bought it, he hasn't stopped scoring as well.
No, so I'm gonna take this off immediately. The Fennec way. That's
there we go.
And I'm gonna put this on. So my guess was incorrect. I'll put this bad boy on.
So,
bro.
A second while he gets it on. Hopefully it fits you well. There we go. Look at that.
I can't believe I have a Reinders kit, man. This is insane.
There we go. Oh, it's a nice one, huh? It's
an amazing kit, bro. It's an amazing one.
That looks lame.
Respect, and I mentioned to you, I'm like, once, just randomly, I go, wow, Reinders 14 long sleeves.
That's why I bought it, in fact. Because I remember you were specifically saying, Reinders 14 long sleeve. I'm like, alright, it has to be that then.
Oh, this is insane, bro. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Please.
What's your prediction?
What if I guess it, bro? I'm gonna predict Lorenzo Lucca.
Okay.
Alright. Here we are, FedEx box right there. Alright, I'm opening it up. It's a Parma kit, no way, okay. Okay, Dennis Man. It's Dennis Man.
No,
it's Ange Bonny. Bro, this is amazing. This is amazing, dude. That looks insane.
It's so cool, man. It's really, really cool.
And 98 is actually a dope
It's
number.
really, really cool, man.
It's
really cool.
The legend. For people who don't follow football, they're gonna be like, why is that guy got man written on his
bro, it's hilarious. I showed Key, and she's like, turn it around, let me see it properly. I showed back, she's like, ha! Because there's his man written at the back.
This is amazing, bro. I don't have a Parma kit, so thank you.
Exactly. And they're a timeless team. So
they are. Absolute instant classic.
And the espresso as well, delicious. Got this, man. I love it, Ostia. I love my kit.
There we go, bro.
Who did it best?
Oh my god.
Bro, it's sick. It's sick. It's sick. I was so happy with it.
Good shit.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go with a show to do.
Exactly. Shall we get into the rundown now?
The rundown, yes. Let me have a sip of this. All right.
I can't believe we just did that. Like, we just opened the gifts.
So
cool.
Milan took on Verona away from home and they edged a narrow victory thanks to a bit of brilliance by Fofana and Reinders in the 56th minute.
The only moment.
The only good moment,
all
honestly.
game.
Fofana played like this defense-splitting ball perfectly down the middle and Reinders finished it off perfectly. And apparently that was Michael Jordan's celebration.
It's what he's been doing. When he did against Real, I told you, oh, look what a shithouse. He's doing
the Bellingham
celebration.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know.
Lovely finish, though. What a natural.
Amazing finish. And again, Reinders in that number 10 role. Obviously, we saw Terracciano start alongside Fofana and the holding midfield role, which added quite a bit of stability to the team. And in place of obviously the injured Pulisic, Leao went off injured early as well. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is injured. I think Reinders over there because of how good he is close to goal. In a Fonseca system is probably the way to go. I don't know if the guy should be Terracciano, but to me he had quite a solid showing.
I was going to say Terracciano on the pivot against his former team where apparently he didn't quite get on with his teammates as well. I think he put on a pretty good display.
I agree.
He didn't stand out.
Which is always a good thing. He
didn't make exactly many terrible mistakes in that position. To be honest, if you don't notice the player, but you're dominating possession, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yes, as you mentioned, of course, Milan were missing many offensive weapons. Pulisic and Morata, for example. Leao had to leave the pitch in the first half as a precaution to an injury, which isn't serious, thank God. But it is important to mention that Milan had 6 defenders playing when Leao went off. Jimenez, Ciao, Gabbia, Royal, Terracciano, and Theo. Yes, it was quite slow and uninspired as a performance, but I think the important thing here was to get the 3 points, and Milan did it.
Especially after a 0-0 draw to Genoa.
Exactly.
The 3 points were important.
The thing is, it doesn't quite inspire you the way these 3 points were gained or earned, because it was a moment of brilliance, that an individual moment, a piece of vision by Fofana. It wasn't like a team maneuver that led to the goal or something like that. It was more of a moment of improvisation, I feel.
However, it is like it's good to see that it's not a goal that required 20 passes in the build-up to try to split open the team. It's good that Milan have those 2 players that can just, with 2 simple touches, it's in the back of the net. It's very disappointing because Verona, they're always cut open through the middle. We know that that's where Verona struggle. You see the way teams score past them, the way that Inter put all those goals past them, just by running through the middle. Milan managed it once in the game. They only saw an opportunity for it once. Fofana is always trying these passes. Out of 6, he pulls 3 off. Let's say he has a 50%. You never know where the pass is going to go. But when he pulls it off like that, and when you have Reinders in that position, because the strikers have been struggling so much for Milan, Abraham and Morata, Jesus Christ, they cannot score a goal to save their lives. So Reinders came in clutch over there.
Absolutely, and we always knew it was going to be him, right? If it's going to be someone to save Milan in that game, it was going to be him. The form he's on is absolutely spectacular. I wonder if the substitution played a part in the goal. Of course, Davidovic was replaced in the 46th minute because he had a yellow card, and Danny Luc was brought on. Danny Lulic. No, but it's not really H, it's IUC. So yes, that guy. He came on, and there was a little bit of a gap left. It was only 10 minutes after he came on that Milan scored, so maybe they exploited the fact that he was still finding his rhythm.
Perhaps.
3 points will take them.
Absolutely. And then after that, there was also Torino 0, Bologna 2. It's Bologna are really sneaking up on people right now. They're continuing this stampede that they're currently on, that is really going under the radar. Over here, Dallinga got his first Serie A goal a few seconds after coming on for Castro. Pobega also found the net against his former employers. That's his 2nd goal in the league and 3rd in all competitions. Torino, on the other hand, they continue to struggle. They failed to test the goalkeeper in any way, shape or form. They got 0 shots on target in this game. Vanya was also incredible because he saved a penalty in this game. He saved Castro's penalty. Yes. And he was just insane throughout.
He is on the verge of a big move.
Vanya.
It has to happen now because he's been good for 3 seasons now. For a season, he was more like a fun player, kind of this cult hero in Torino, for Serie A fans to enjoy. But nowadays, he's just a dominant goalkeeper.
He's hit a new level. And there's always this breakthrough keeper every season in Serie A. Last year, obviously, it was Vicario, and he got an incredible move to Spurs. I'm hoping this guy stays in Serie A.
Yeah.
And Serbians do typically tend to enjoy pursuing a career in Serie A. You see a lot of Serbian players fitting into Italy and enjoying the lifestyle of Italy. So hopefully he does get to stay there. If not, I mean, there are a bunch of teams in the world that could really use a keeper like Vanya. Firstly, his salary demands must not be crazy because he's been making a Torino salary his entire professional...
A
Cairo salary this entire time. But he's honestly, bro, if you put him on the biggest stages, we'll get to see him... Like, imagine seeing him in the Champions League.
That would be great. I think that's where he belongs. In the Euros, I can't believe, for example, he was benched.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that will be happening again with the heights that Vanya has.
I don't think
reached.
so.
I think also there's a gap in this... Maybe not a gap, but he could get a Napoli move, perhaps. That would be a club that would really suit him, and the fans would take him with open arms. He totally fits their culture.
You have that
loud, towering, formidable goalkeeper.
Someone with balls is always going to fit into Napoli. Someone was always going to fit into Napoli. And Vanya has the biggest balls in all of Serie A. He is a 6'8" bald goalkeeper with a huge beard. Who he doesn't even scream. He looks like a serial killer. And he takes free kicks. He takes free kicks.
He actually does take free kicks. He doesn't do it anymore, but he's taken free kicks in Serie A. And
he won't be taking any free kicks for Conte. That's for sure. Just to go back a little bit, we did mention that Torino didn't get a single shot on target, apart from the penalty. I believe was on target because it was saved by Vanya. But this is the 3rd game in a row where Torino failed to score past Bologna. And funnily enough, they have a great record at home against them. They have 34 wins, 22 draws and 10 losses. So this recent history doesn't exactly showcase what obviously there was El Grande Torino back in the day when Bologna were still up and coming.
Yeah. Let's continue. I'll do the summaries, you do the stats. Let's stick to that because you might not align with the way I wrote certain things.
Sure.
Let's go. So we have Genoa 1, Napoli 2. Napoli started off actually quite well this game, and they found the net through Anguissa in the 15th minute, and they got another one through Rahmani in the 23rd, really making the most out of their set-piece routines. Genoa piled the pressure and were the better team in the second half by quite some margin, to be honest, and they managed to get one back through Pinamonti in the 51st minute. Despite their push, Conte and his men did what they do best. They won. Ugly. And I mean that in the most flattering way possible. By the way. When I say winning ugly, it's a good thing to win ugly.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way Juve won those 9 in a row, they had Conte and they had Allegri. They were the CEOs of winning ugly. And speaking of that, Conte has now become the first Serie A manager in history to have picked up 35 points in 17 matches, in the opening 17 matches, with 3 different Serie A teams. Quite a random stat in that sense, but it's showing how high profile the manager is. And this was also Vieira's first loss in his opening 5 games for Genoa. He has 1 win, 3 draws and 1 loss. Actually, if you look at the last 3 managers that have joined Genoa halfway through a season, or that didn't start the season, he's actually 4th. And Blessin even has a better record because he drew his opening 5 matches.
Yes, I remember that. He wouldn't stop drawing, Blessin.
But at least we saw Vieira pick up a win.
Yeah, and they're coming into their groove, this Genoa side, and Vieira has exceeded expectations, The Gilardino sack seemed a bit harsh, in my opinion, but But it's going well so far.
So far, you can't complain.
You can't criticize it.
Exactly. So 4 unbeaten out of 5 games is a good record. I'd still rather they had Gilardino, but you can't hate what you can't imitate.
And Vitinha has really found himself in this left wing role.
Yes, I think he struggled because people were asking too much of him.
And he was playing as a 9, man.
Like as like a 9.5 he was playing. He's playing as what Lautaro Martinez is.
Shit.
Well, yes, to be honest, he wasn't doing great. But we see his strong suit is even when his moments of brilliance all come out wide. And I like how he's playing out wide, but he has that liberty to obviously cut inside and play closer to the striker. So it's just about understanding Vitinha a bit more, and hopefully Vieira understands him a bit more than Gilardino did.
Yeah.
Because Gilardino essentially wanted him to be Goodmanson.
Exactly. I'm also enjoying this trend of smaller teams picking up fullbacks from big teams and playing them as wingers.
Yes, bro.
Like attacking wingers.
Zanoli.
Zortea, exactly. Yeah.
All the Zs.
All the Zs. There was Lecce against Lazio, and that was a 2-1 victory for Lazio, but boy, did Lecce make them sweat. It was dramatic. Bro. At the end of the first half, Guilbert got sent off for handling the ball off the line. At first glance, I just thought it was a rocket and it happened to hit his arm, so I thought that was harsh. But then you slow it down and you literally see him extending his arm. It's almost instinctive, that you do that, I think.
It is instinctive. I think whether it's intentional or not, if it's on the line.
It's on the line, you're off, like goodbye.
Chop the arm off. Would it have gone in?
Exactly.
If yes, red card.
Zaccagni, of course, being on my fantasy football team, decided to give the penalty to Castellanos, who stepped up and converted. Despite being down to 10 men in the second half, Lecce came out inspired. They came out growling. The fans were on their back.
Gianpaolo, man.
Yeah. And they got themselves an equalizer through a fantastic goal by Tete Morente. Of course, Dorgu tried a long-distance strike that was deflected, and Tete Morente was like, you know what, I'll have one. He had a chrach from a while out, and it ended up going in. It was a beautiful goal. Was it our goal of the week?
It was our goal of the week.
It's our goal of the week, which we forgot to mention. There we go. Goal of the week.
We're so new to this after 2 weeks.
Tete Morente, what a goal. And that's his first ever back-to-back goal in Serie A, because it's only his second ever goal in Serie A.
Interesting.
Lecce tried to hold on, but they faltered in the 87th minute through the unlikeliest of heroes in Adam Marusic, the servant of the club, who's been there for 7 seasons now. Scored a very similar goal from quite far out, from slightly outside the area, but was on the volley kind of. It was one of those lame volleys that's like front. From the front, you kick forward instead of like angling your leg. But what a goal that was, and what a servant Marusic has been to the club.
Obviously, Lazio were coming off that 6-0 huge defeat to Inter, and drawing to a 10-man Lecce ahead of the games that they have. They have Atalanta coming up, and then they have the Roma derby coming up, the Derby della Capitale. So they needed a win, and Marusic was that guy to get it for them. And away to Lecce, a Lecce that have the newly appointed Gianpaolo, they've been on a good run with him as well. It's complicated. Even historically, coming into this game, Lecce had won all 3 of their last home league games against Lazio.
It's a tough gig, man, there.
Every time Lazio, out of the past 3 games, when they visited Lecce, they lost.
That's crazy.
So this game was... Lazio would know what a tough game it was, and it took, again, 87th minute random winner by Adam Marusic, which was very, very well needed for them.
Absolutely. It was quite a grind, even when they went down to 10, man. Absolutely difficult game for them. So Roma smashed Parma 5-0. Now, coming into this game, they were quite close in the standings. I don't have it exactly, but I'll tell you very soon. But they did blow them out of the water. Their high press forced a lot of errors, and it was too much for Parma to handle. Angelino and Salamakers were playing out wide, and they played very well, stretching Parma wide open. Paredes dictated the tempo in the game, while also recovering possession well, flanked by Kone, who's just incredible. Dovbyk seems to have found his confidence and was linking up well with his teammates. Very positive signs for Roma. Even their defenders looked solid as well.
They're actually just 1 point apart from each other. Parma are on 15 points, Roma are on 16 points. So it was like you look at Parma now after that loss, they're down in 16th place. So imagine if Parma won that game and Roma lost that game. It was absolutely do or die for Roma. And what I see Ranieri really doing is it's a really good balance between the new talent that they have just signed and the old reliables. Like for example, that the fact that he's starting El Shaarawy over Soler, just to have that familiarity, and Dybala over there as well to help a new striker in Dovbyk up front. It's a really good balance that he's implementing, and his rotation has been quite strong as well. I'm enjoying Hummels as well as a centre-back. Lefebvre had a good game in this game. And actually Roma, the record against Parma is incredible. They haven't lost to them at home since April 1997.
Yeah. They played really well, Roma. And I think at this point it's just Ranieri trying to find out what his best 11 is. You look at the three centre-backs, I think a back three suits Roma a lot. You look at Mancini, Hummels, Indica, I think they all do a little bit better in a back three. You look at Salamakers, he's been the turning point, I think. He's been the real addition to this team.
Because he brought passion,
energy,
brought technique, skill.
Yeah, fearlessness. He plays with fearlessness.
Yeah.
And it allows El Shaarawy to play closer to goal. And Ranieri, of course, highlighted the importance of Dybala. He said, Mourinho even said how important Dybala is. The team is different with Dybala. And Dybala had a fantastic game over here.
In fact, I think Dybala now, he's top five amount of goals scored by Argentinian players in Serie A. I believe he might even be third. I know there's Crespo.
Icardi must be there. But is he there, Icardi, actually?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
But he did score so many for Inter. But there must be. Yeah.
Dybala's definitely ahead of Icardi. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, yeah. When it comes to Parma, they completely fell apart. Roma were too much for them to handle. They surged them wide and exploited the gaps in their defense.
It was the high press, man. The high press of Roma absolutely disrupted the fuck out of Parma.
And I think this was an important victory for Roma, especially in the manner they got it, because they really have to separate themselves from the teams that they're around right now.
Absolutely.
They're we're not on the same level as these guys. Let's blow them out of the water. Let's show the world that we are not a relegation team, despite our current standings.
I really enjoyed as well. I spoke about the balance, even Paredes starting alongside Kone. Paredes is very, very good.
I think he's very, very, very important to Roma being able to control the game. He's a good regista.
He's the only one. He's the only regista that they have. The only player that can do that.
Yeah.
So play him.
Absolutely.
Play the fuck out of him.
And boy, has he been playing him. Moving on, Venezia beat Cagliari 2-1. They were the only relegation side, actually, to get a single point, and they got 3 of them. So this was a massive week for Venezia.
Huge.
They're one of the winners of this week's match.
Still one before the last, but a massive step in the right direction for them.
Yeah, it was their first win since October 30th. Cagliari came out and initially dominated possession, but struggled to create significant threats. Venezia broke the deadlock in the 39th minute through Zampano following a brilliant run by Oristano, who's really enjoying life at the moment. I think he's on loan from Inter. He his first ever Serie A goal. That was for Oristano. For Zampano, who celebrated like Conor McGregor. And what did you say?
As it's his first Serie A goal, right? But the first time he celebrated like McGregor... McGregor, we just found out that he's a rapist. Now you celebrate like McGregor. Yeah. Ramos celebrated like McGregor after he beat Jose Aldo, and it was, this up-and-comer, it's amazing. Yeah. Don't celebrate like him after he's just been charged for rape. Yeah. Maybe choose your heroes wisely, Zampano.
Yeah. Next up, he's going to celebrate like Diddy, I think. Yeah, Venezia dominated the second half, and Stankovic made some great saves to keep them into it, and this would be a recurring theme for the game. Stankovic has been doing really well since taking over there.
Yeah.
Oristano scored a lovely goal, but it was called off because Poyampalo's peel was his heel, not his banana peel, was a millimeter offside.
It's ridiculous.
It was an invisible offside to the naked eye.
It wasn't offside. It wasn't.
They're coming for you, bro.
Fuck. We mentioned Diddy on the pod.
It was a ridiculous goal to cancel, I think. I know the technology is there, but if you can't even see the body part over the line highlighted in red, I think it's just
it's been nitpicking. There. Theo said it on the group. He said the offside rule is there to discard of any significant advantage, or not even significant, any advantage that the striker has over the defender positionally. You're telling me Poyampalo over there had an advantage.
Yeah.
You're telling me that impedance or whatever of his fucking heel made a difference in how the ball hit the back of the net?
Definitely not.
What
Definitely
bullshit. It's ridiculous. And this is where VAR gets too much. I agree with VAR that it should be there to make sure that there's law and order in the game, and that there isn't a situation like Chelsea-Barca and stuff like that in that Champions League semi-finals or whatever it was. But they're overusing it in this sense. The second you start zooming into pixels, come on, the pixels need to be completely even. If there's a pixel ahead of the other, it's bullshit. That's bullshit, man.
Agreed. Yes, it is bullshit. And thankfully, it did not cost them the game.
Exactly.
Because that would have been very unfair. As Zverko doubled the lead for Venezia with the clumsiest solo goal I've ever seen in my life. He was falling halfway through the run, and on his way down, he sneak shot the ball into the bottom corner past the keeper. Keeper didn't see it coming at all. Lovely clumsy solo goal.
I love it, man. I love goals like that. There was it Guedes? Was it the player Guedes that was with Valencia? He has a mental one where he's just falling the entire time, but he's dribbling players. I
think Costa had one like that once, bro.
It's Guedes. He looks like Costa.
Yes,
and they had captioned it Costa, but it wasn't Costa. Guedes, I think his name
Something
is.
Like
I'm really
I remember
sure.
Though, me thinking it was Costa exactly, and you telling me that it was Guedes. Giroud had one as well, of course. The painting, but that was a lot smoother. Though.
Venezia, Cagliari, if you look back in history as well between these two sides, Venezia had after losing their first Serie A meeting with Cagliari in November 1966, Venezia have since gone unbeaten in the next 8 matches against the Sardinians in the competition, where they won 4 and drew 4, which is already the record for consecutive games without a defeat against a single opponent in the top flight.
So they're kryptonite.
Exactly. Venezia are the team that just always fuck Cagliari.
They brought on Pavoletti. He scored. Eselametti.
Senia Pavoletti.
Yes, but it was not enough for Cagliari, who kept the pressure but couldn't penetrate again. I'm happy for Venezia. Di Francesco has grown as a coach, I think. Even since last season, you can see that defensively, this team is much better than his Frosinone side was. He's trying to balance it, because that Frosinone side at the start of the season was just scoring so many goals.
Yeah. But the thing is, Frosinone used to do this as well last season. They used to randomly win a game in good fashion, even against the mid-table team. So I won't be too quick to say.
But even their performances, bro, haven't been getting destroyed.
It's
Venezia,
true.
You know.
No, Venezia have improved. They've really improved from the opening 10 games of the season to the second 10 games of the season.
And there's been a massive jump. The worst team in the league when it comes to individuals.
Yes.
But you look at all granted, they lost 3-0 to Bologna, but the other games are all a 1-goal margin. They lost 2-0 to Atalanta, okay? But other than that, it's just 2-1 loss here, 2-2 draw there.
They haven't been getting demolished.
The problem is that they've been losing to the smaller sides,
exactly.
Which is very worrying. Like, they lost to Lecce, they lost to Roma. they drew to Monza, exactly. They where was the Genoa one? I saw Genoa. Here. No, they beat Genoa. Okay. Good. They've been kind of they're not down and out. That's the good thing.
No, and no teams are really down and out. That's the good thing about the relegation battle, which we'll be discussing in further depth later on
in this episode after the rundown. Yes. Atalanta 3, Empoli 2.
I was not expecting that. I love Empoli and I really like what Empoli are doing. It's no secret, but I wasn't expecting this game to be that tight, huh?
Absolutely, and they edged it, in fact. It was a very dramatic clash. This was Atalanta's 11th consecutive league victory.
Madonna.
Empoli actually struck first through Colombo, the away day specialist, as they're calling him. It's his 4th goal of the season, all coming away from home. De Ketelare equalized before Lookman gave Atalanta a 2-1 halftime lead, and then Jim City in the second half fouled Grassi in the box. Esposito stepped up and scored from the spot, but then De Ketelare, of course, secured the win with a lovely late goal, a solo goal. This result
Incredible
propelled Atalanta to the top of the league with 40 points. Retegui did go off injured this game, the first half, because of a muscle injury, and there's no real update on it.
Yeah, muscular. He'll probably miss the Lazio game. They're saying, well, for sure he'll miss the Lazio game. But again, we've seen the no Retegui, no problem.
Yeah,
because everyone's a striker in this plan. But
no Retegui, no problem is because teams would be preparing for Retegui.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. But I mean, even if they play the Ketelare Punta at this point, they've got 3 players, just Lukman, De Ketelare, and Retegui. Their numbers are fucking ridiculous this season. So they're definitely not down and out because they lost Retegui, and also Scamacca is recovering slowly. And also Atalanta have remained top of the table for at least 2 match days in a row for the first time, 3 match days in a row now, for the first time in Serie A history. So could this be the season? Is this the season? Believe me, all of you asked us this. And, so we'll get into that later.
Monza 1, Juventus 2. Juve ended their 4-match Serie A draw streak. McKennie, who was playing left back, opened the scoring in the 14th minute, assisted by Coop Miners, who had a pretty good game this game. Monza did equalize in the 22nd minute through none other than Birindelli, who scored a left-footed goal. I say none other than because Birindelli's father, of course, played for Juventus. Nico Gonzalez restored Juve's lead in the 39th minute, finishing off a collective move involving Savona, McKennie and Locatelli. Despite several chances missed in the second half, Juve held on to secure the win, moving them up to 6th in the standings. And later on after this game, it was announced that Nesta has been sacked.
It's sad, It's sad that a legend like Nesta and his first Serie A stint, it's gone this way for him. To be honest, I don't think there wasn't confidence in Nesta from the start by Monza. If you look at his contract, it was 1 season, and the only way that he'll be able to get another season, an additional 1 season on his contract, is if Monza don't get relegated. So Monza's instant priority after being a mid-table team since being promoted to Serie A, this season they started thinking of relegation.
But that's always been the objective in theory, and it's like, let's see how high we can finish. Because that was the main objective as well when they asked Galliani in the first season.
Yes, I get you, but if you finish 11th, 12th 1 season, and then the next season you finish the same place, you're like, this is where we belong. Let's either try to push or try to maintain this. Now, I get you, sometimes shit happens in football, financials, all this complicated shit.
Berlusconi died, eh?
You try to... guy fucking died.
Questions about the funds, like his family's in charge. I don't know what they're willing to invest.
But they chose a manager that suited their low expectations of the season. Because, like, we're going to get you for a season. If we survive, thanks to you, we'll extend you for another season. I think they could have gone for, look, our priority is not to get relegated. Let's find someone that could help us achieve that goal over a 4-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, something like that.
Yes.
But instead they went for this approach.
They're looking at Bocchetti.
Yes.
And Bocchetti, Salvatore Bocchetti, Milan fans will remember him from that 1 season he had with Milan. I believe it was 1 season, at least in the banter era. He played as well for Hellas Verona, of course. He is a dual citizen, Italian and Russian. He was Tudor's understudy.
I wonder what his political beliefs are.
He was, he did work as Tudor's assistant coach after being promoted from the youth team. He actually became the youngest ever first team manager for half a season when managing Hellas Verona.
35
years old. Absolutely incredible to be managing in Serie A, 35 years old. He's highly rated. Apparently even Hellas Verona were looking to bring him back to replace Zanetti. But yeah,
he's been on the radar, like Bocchetti. Teams must really rate him highly because he's constantly
apparently
in the conversation.
He has fantastic leadership qualities from what I've read.
Okay.
So we'll see. He's the main candidate apparently for the job. Our listener Daniel, who's a Juve fan, on Instagram said Monza really drew the line at not being able to draw to us. Yeah. So seems to be the case.
Yeah. Well, 2 seasons ago when Monza had just come up to Serie A and they had removed, I forgot the name of the coach that took them up to Serie A initially. Palladino was his understudy.
What's his name? Stroppa.
So after Palladino took over Stroppa, their first win ever in Serie A history, lest we forget, was by beating Juve. It was the whole birth of the Pullman di Troia.
Yes, dude.
That was offered by Berlusconi.
Exactly.
They beat one
For those
of the big
who don't understand what Pullman di Troia means.
A bus full of whoas, basically. Pardon my language, what I'm translating here.
That's Berlusconi. There's actually a video of Berlusconi in the locker room. They're like saying this.
Berlusconi, what will you do if your team beats Juve and Milan? And they know something sick is coming. So obviously Berlusconi entertained it. And that season, actually, Monza beat Juve twice. And then last season, Juve beat Monza twice. And now the season for now, Juve have the upper hand. But let's see if Monza can bring it back to level terms.
Yeah, we'll see. Fiorentina took on Udinese last night at home and they lost.
That's crazy.
They lost, man. They took the lead initially.
I love this Udinese team.
They're really good, man. Runjaj has set up a very good team, and they're young, they're organized, they're fiery. Every player gives his all defensively as well. They've got a player who's, in my opinion, when fit, one of the best right wingers in the league in Tovan, man. The problem is his fitness, right? He plays half the games in a season, but he takes it to another level when he's available.
You spoke about Vanya being on the verge of a big move. Lucca's on the verge of a big move, and I didn't fucking get you a Lucca Udinese kid, because I will get you a Lucca Milan kid one day, bro.
There we go. Talk dirty to me, bro. Yes, Keane scored the penalty early on. And then eventually Ranieri made a terrible mistake, giving the ball away, and the ball was played to Lucca, who only needs one chance. You know, an interesting stat. Piccoli has about 16 big misses this season. Lucca has 0. He hasn't missed a big chance. You know, they don't get many chances with Udinese.
He's the star of the show. He scores. At the end of the game, when Udinese were defending their lead, he was the best centre back of the match.
He cleared 3 corners away on his own.
Of course he did, man. He's bloody 6'6" or 6'7", however tall he is. Sign me up,
what
man.
A player, man.
Give me Lorenzo.
And his
Lucca.
technique for his height is really good. He links up really well with play. He drops deep. I love Lorenzo Lucca. And then, of course, Thuvan would get the winner, as he absolutely destroyed Gosens out wide, looking like prime Suso.
Bro.
And he curled it in past the goalkeeper.
In the close-up, it reminds me of how much acting goes into beating your man in football. Because the way, you know how he cut out, and then he pretended like he was going to cut back in, only to send Gosens to the supermarket, and he kept cutting out. Like, when he was pretending to cut back in, even his facial expression, his body language and everything, there's so much acting that goes into it.
Absolutely. You have to be convincing, right?
Yeah. Fiorentina actually had a lot on the line over here. They failed to make it 20 undefeated at the Franchi in a row. Their last loss at the Franchi was last season to Milan in the first half of the season. Ever since then, they've been undefeated at the Franchi.
That's crazy.
They failed to make it 20 in a row over here. They're in a weird place, Fiorentina, at the moment. They just lost to Bologna. Obviously, we'll get into this later on as well. They just lost to Bologna. That whole Bove situation was at the stadium. It was beautiful. It was so emotional.
Last week, Palladino's mom died. He couldn't even be there for the game. They've been really unlucky, Fiorentina, when it comes to these off-field issues. Throwback to a story as well, dying in the hotel room.
They've got certain players that haven't fucking hit the ground running yet as well.
Colpani comes to mind.
Goodmanson.
Yes. Goodmanson, it's just a weird situation with Goodmanson. His court case seemed to have been settled. It's only a formality that it isn't. But he was back on the pitch. He scored a hat-trick. And now he's not even starting. And he's being brought on in the 60th minute. A double and then a goal in the previous game or in the next game. So he's got 3 goals, I believe. But now he seems to have vanished again. And again, Goodmanson is a player who the entire Fiorentina team will operate around Goodmanson. Like, you give him a free role in the middle and you play around him. You play through him.
Yeah. Yeah, he can do it all, Goodmanson.
Absolutely.
But we'll get into this later on as well.
Yes, and then Inter, of course, took on Como at home and they won 2-0 thanks to his second goal for the club, actually. Carlos Augusto scored the header after a lovely Çalhanoğlu corner.
And the hair transplant. A lovely hair transplant. He looks really good.
Beautiful hair transplant. And then Thuram scored at the end as well, a lovely goal where he took on his man and just smashed it in the near post top corner.
Yeah. Shades of R9 with that goal. He has a goal just like that.
Inter were very frustrating this game and they were getting really impatient with each other, the players, and things weren't really ticking. They were quite wasteful and Como actually played their game.
Como can be a tough side to face. And the big teams tend to struggle against Como, interestingly enough. Yeah. As they grow as a team, it seems like the way that Fabregas wants them to play is very, very advanced, and it seems to work against the top teams. It's the bottom teams that will go man for man that make Como really struggle. Even though one of Como's only 2 victories was against Atalanta.
That's the thing, right? They shock you, they attack you, man. And that Atalanta victory came at a weird time for Atalanta, though. They had a lot of injuries.
Como, they got 2 wins in a row over there. They beat Atalanta and then they beat Verona, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, exactly. But there are certain teams who attack very well and who press very well, who have managed to tear Como apart, particularly Napoli, for example. Lazio put 5 past Como. So when things go terribly wrong, when things go wrong, they go terribly wrong. Even Juve managed a 3-0 victory over them. Yeah. Shall we get into our main talking point?
So that's the rundown. Let's jump to the title race a little bit, because this is obviously, it's no secret. It is the tightest title race we've had in a while. Obviously, if we look 3 years ago, between Milan and Inter, it went down to the final day. That was lit. But what we're looking at over here, in my opinion, if we were to look at how many teams are going to be fighting for it this year, it's a 3-horse race, in my opinion. Can someone run away with it? Christmas moving forward, so on and so forth? Maybe. I just don't see that happening, because each of these 3 teams have their own unique advantages. Of course, I'm talking about Atalanta, I'm talking about Napoli, and I'm talking about Inter. And it feels like Napoli are 2 points behind first, and suddenly they're being written off completely.
So I've seen, what's his name? Patrick Kendrick, right? On Twitter said that don't let it be said or be portrayed that Napoli are the favourites for the Scudetto just because they play once a week. He said that when you look at this Napoli side, they're one of the only teams that, compared to Atalanta and Inter, they're the only team that doesn't go into half-time with a lead very often. He says that they struggle to win, while the others can win in a convincing way. And that in reality they are not favourites for the Scudetto. I don't think he's saying anything wrong. I think that when it comes to the favourites for the Scudetto was always going to be Inter. Inter are the favourites, right?
Absolutely.
It's Inter's title to win. Napoli, just like Atalanta, are the dark horses.
Yeah.
They're the ones that no one expected to be there. They're the ones who have a unique advantage compared to the other teams. And the fact that they only play once a week, because that is an advantage. It's a unique advantage. They don't have certain luxuries that other teams have, like squad depth. They don't have the depth that other teams have, like Inter and Atalanta. Of course, their depth isn't bad. They've got a few tricks up their sleeve in Neres, for example. But yes, I think that a Conte team that wins ugly can continue to do so for the whole season. That's their whole thing, unity, grinding, us against the world. And I do think that they will go on and win it, man. I said this at the start, and I'm not going to change my prediction. I think that when you're a team, when you're united like that, when you've got one competition on your mind, you do have an advantage.
Yeah, I think that of course Inter are the favourites. Inter have a squad that are, a lot of them are 2-time Serie A winners. A lot of them are. Lautaro Martinez is, Barella is, Di Marco is, of course. Champions League finalists as well. They've had the same manager for 3-4 seasons. they're great at knockout competitions. They've got a deep squad. They're definitely the best team. They have the best team. If you look for the past 5 years, Inter. They're the top team in Serie A. Napoli, their unique advantage is like you said, they're playing one time a week. Kendrick, of course, said that they struggle to win, but they struggle to win. They've got 12 wins this season. Atalanta are the only team that have more wins, 13. Of course, Inter played 2 games less so far. 1 game less, but they're on 11 wins. Yeah, so if they win that, they'll be equal to Napoli. So I don't think they struggle to win games. I think their manner of winning games is cortomuso. The same way that Juve were back in the day, and the same way Inter were under Conte. It's a Conte system. A Conte system isn't going to blow teams out of the bloody water.
Exactly. Like they've only got 3 more goals than Parma, for example. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you're defending so soundly. It doesn't matter.
And then their record against the top teams. I mean, they beat... So they lost 3-0 to Atalanta. They beat... So that's devastating for them. I lost at home 3-0 to Atalanta. They drew away to Inter. They beat Milan. How much did they come against Juve? That's what I want to know as well. I believe they drew 0-0 to Juve. Yeah. They drew 0-0 to Juve. So the record against the top teams isn't even bad. Barring they lost to Lazio and they lost to Atalanta. So I don't think you can disregard them just because it's Conte's first season or because they don't win games by a 3-4 goal margin. If you win a game 1-0 and you do that consistently for an entire season versus if you win... If you have a 70% win rate but you win those games 5-0, it doesn't make a difference. It's a more consistent team you have to look at.
They've scored 26 goals compared to Atalanta and Inter's 42. Right? But then they've conceded fewer. They've only conceded 12 goals this season, Napoli. And while Inter have conceded 15 and Atalanta have conceded 19. So that is their unique advantage, right? The fact that they're so sound defensively. But I do think Inter have grown into the season and they're going to have to be near flawless Napoli if they want to go all the way. And same goes for Atalanta. One interesting thing that I saw, bro, is Frank tweeted. He said, if Atalanta perform as they usually perform after Christmas, the Scudetto is theirs. Because it's true, Atalanta after Christmas, they just win.
It's typically the start of the season where they struggle.
It's true, absolutely. So maybe that's their unique advantage.
And keep in mind, the previous winners in Serie A. Well, if you look at, for example, Napoli 2 seasons ago, when they won the league, they went quite deep into the Champions League. You know what I mean? They made the quarterfinals and then they lost to Milan. Inter, I believe last season, got eliminated in the round of 16 to Atletico, if I'm not mistaken. It's possible for teams to have a run in Europe and also win the bloody league.
Of course.
Which is an advantage. What worries me about Atalanta is their direct record against Inter. They can't beat Inter. So if it comes down to 3 points, that head-to-head clash is going to be of key importance between Inter and Atalanta. And Inter smacked Atalanta earlier this season. They made Atalanta look like shit. So that's where Inter really get the advantage over them.
Yes. There's a sense of belief in all 3 teams. They're all playing very well. They're all locked in. I think of the 3, perhaps if you had to put them in the order of favourites, Inter first, Atalanta second, Napoli third. I think it goes like that. And don't count out Juve. I know many people have counted out Juve. But the fact that they haven't lost a game yet. They have 10 draws, granted, but they're still there. You know, they're 9 points off. They can easily sneak into this title race.
If
their players are coming back from injury. What Motta hasn't seen from his players yet is not what he hasn't seen, what he hasn't been able to see is continuity. He hasn't been able to field the same 11 regularly, the optimal 11, because they've had so many injuries. They've been butchered by injuries. January's coming up. They can strengthen their team, and if they go on a run,
if they
continue to not lose and just start winning, they're right there. You know, you're telling me these guys aren't going to slip up. We've seen right now 3 teams at the top who have all slipped up Inter have 4 draws. Napoli and Atalanta have 3 losses.
They're 12 points behind, which is a lot. At this stage, it's a big gap that they have to
9 points behind.
They're 9 points behind?
Yeah, 9 points behind.
9 points behind, okay. They're not out of it completely. No, don't count them out. They can still, technically what Juve can do is go on a winning streak.
That's
and
it.
they can potentially end the season as undefeated champions.
That's in theory, that can happen.
They could still get a gold title the same way Arsene Wenger and Arsenal.
They obviously have their faults, their flaws, their shortcomings, the fact that they haven't
have an injury crisis ongoing right now as well, bro.
It's all been damage limitation from Motta so far. We saw at the start of the season they were winning games 3-0, with the full team.
And at the start with Bologna, it was his first 15 games were experimentation, which he's still doing. And he's had to continue experimenting. The only reason he doesn't have his nailed down starting 11 and his nailed down system is because of the disruptions with the injuries.
Nico Gonzalez coming back might give them a new avenue up front because he's been deployed by Motta as a false 9. And he's a very good false 9. Because
an incredible false 9.
He can also act as a target man.
He's good because he's good in the air.
He's got a good header for his height. He's got one of the best headers on him in the league. When it comes to, for example, when compared to, for example, Lautaro, it's quite similar. Lautaro isn't the tallest player in the world, but he's dominant in the air. Nico Gonzalez kind of has that thing about him as well. So it could be a completely new avenue for you.
However, with that being said, though, and going back to what Kendrick alluded to as well, Atalanta and Inter are the teams that can score goals. Because Napoli, their 1-0s can bite them in the ass. Juve, with their striker situation with Vlahovic, how sustainable is that in the case that, I'm just going to say it, Vlahovic has been shit. He's been pure ass. And Napoli are in a similar situation with Lukaku, where he can be shit, he can be ass, and so can his
But the difference is Lukaku, and then is pretty much effective almost every game.
Yes.
Lautaro isn't always effective.
But if we're talking about teams that can score goals,
no,
Inter and Atalanta absolutely like they do illegal things to everyone else.
No team in Europe's top 5 has more goals from their wing backs or full backs than Inter.
With Dumfries and DeMarco.
Yes.
And then, I mean, just if you look at the amount of top scorers Atalanta have, it's ridiculous, right? You have CDK, who's on double-figure goals, and he has a great amount of assists as well. Retegui, who's the top scorer in the league, and he has 4 assists as well. And then there's Lookman, of course, who has a bunch of goals and a bunch of assists. Like, individually, these two teams, they are the ones that could go in the deepest European runs in the Champions League. They're the ones that can fight until the very end. Napoli are there because of their consistency and their 1 game a week.
Absolutely. They've got 3 players on 10+ goal contributions. CDK 10, Lookman 13, Retegui 15. And then they've got Derun on 4, Pasalic on 4, Zaniolo on 4, Zappacosta on 4, Bellanova on 4, Ederson 3, Samardzic 3, Brescianini 2, Ruggeri 2, Quadrado 2, and Kolasinac 1.
Man.
Their goals come from everywhere. This was pretty much an entire team starting 11, bar the goalkeeper. Of course.
And again, yes, they did lose Retegui to injury, but if they play a counter-attacking system, bro, where they have bloody CDK and Lookman up front,
they terrorize
them.
Yeah. Good for them that Scamacca's coming back because, of course, Retegui's injury could be quite a stretch if it's muscular.
Yeah.
It could be 2
2
months.
2 weeks, it could be 2 months.
So that's good for them, the fact that they're so flexible. Yeah. So yes, I'm enjoying this title race. Hopefully Milan can become... No, it's too late for Milan. 26 points, right?
Well, if we move down the table a little bit and we look at Milan and Juve, they're both going through something very, very similar. Yeah. And that is tirate fuori coglioni. They're asking them, the fans have been everywhere they see the players, everywhere they see the team. It's being chanted in the stadium at Milan's 125th anniversary, where Maldini wasn't present. Tirati fuori coglioni. Get your balls out.
Yes.
Play with balls. taken it to the players now.
I wasn't sure what it meant. Tirati fuori coglioni. Of course, my Italian isn't great. I know tira means to shoot in the direct translation.
So you thought they were asking them to come, basically.
No, so I was like, what the hell is this? So I opened my translator, I write it, and I just see, get your balls out. I'm like, what is that, what they're chanting? So that is why the cover of this episode
is
them
the
out,
fans
bro. Chanting Tirate fuori coglioni, and McKenny being like, what the fuck? So what are they saying? But yes, it's basically, it translates to show some balls.
Yeah.
You know, play with passion, play for the badge. And I think it's more relevant to Milan than it might be for Juve, because Juve's approach to the game has been cautious, trying not to concede, trying not to lose amidst their crisis where they have 4 outfield players on the bench. There's not much they can do.
Yeah.
When you watch Milan play, many players seem indifferent, as we always say. Like Theo Hernandez, for example. Leao had the whole thing at the start, even though he's come into it. We've seen a lot of pedestrian play, a lot of passenger play.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very appropriate chant. And I think, keep chanting it. Why not? I don't think it's disrespectful to tell the players to play for the badge.
No, absolutely not. That is the responsibility of the players to do that on a weekly basis. It's their bloody job. They have to give it their all. If we go to work and we don't give it our all for an entire year, we might lose our job.
Yeah,
we might get a salary cut, whatever. And it's a good thing that it's interesting, because the fans are they're blaming the players. It's not the sole blame, but we're looking at 2 teams over here who have gone through drastic change. All right, you have Juve, who have gone through change because they employed Motta and they brought in a bunch of new players, whereas before they had the 9 Scudetto era. Where they had Allegri and Conte, and then they said, you know what, time to start a new page. Allegri out, bring in Sarri. Let's try play modern football. That didn't work. Go for Pirlo. That didn't work. Bring back Allegri. 3 years back to square one, except without the titles. And now they're taking a step, and they got Motta. So they're still in this huge transitional era that was stalled for around 5-6 years. So it's a huge transitional era.
It was stalled, to mention, just because I'm sure there are listeners screaming, there's the signing of Cristiano Ronaldo stalled all this, because it totally ruined their finances. And not necessarily the signing of Ronaldo, the fact that COVID hit when Ronaldo was signed. So yes,
completely.
It ended up not making any sense because they didn't have the.
But then they got Giuntoli, they got Motta.
This is a long-term project.
It's a long-term project. But now they've been hit by this injury crisis, but it's this whole thing because they're in an in-between phase. I think Juve fans had the wrong idea of what Motta's going to bring to the table. I think when they got Motta, because they were so fed up of playing this defensive football, it's like, yes, we got Motta, Bologna's Motta, we're going to score loads of goals, Vlahovic is going to finally show us what he showed us at Fiorentina. You're wrong. Roasted. You're wrong, but look at Bologna.
You're wrong. A random person at the gym, random person in your car.
But honestly, look at Bologna's numbers last year. What was their strong suit? They didn't fucking concede goals.
Yes,
they were the best team defensively in the league.
They were the most balanced team in the league.
Exactly. It's like a Giulardino system, a Motta system, that balance where you attack and you don't leave yourself vulnerable, but you're capable of getting goals. But they haven't quite yet found their system because of the disruption of injuries. Yes. And the fact that they don't have a replacement for fucking Susan Vlahovic.
That's the main thing, because when you look at Bologna's 11, the main difference between that 11 and Juve's 11 right now is the profile of the striker. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why I said Nico Gonzalez might be a revelation for them, because he can get between the lines, he can link up, he's quite skillful, he can take on a man, he can hold the ball, while Vlahovic is more of a striker you can use to kind of play in behind, or to just use as a target man, you know, or a poacher. But I think like this they can get more of what Motta wants, because most of their goals came through players switching position. Remember that there was Salamakers, Xerxes, they would overlap.
Yes.
indoor.
Calafiori would join the midfield.
Calafiori would join the midfield. They were all mobile, the players. Vlahovic is quite rigid as a player.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault, I mean, we have a question about Vlahovic, so we'll discuss it later on. But I think Juve will only get better. The worst part of the season is over.
Absolutely, they'll get better. And then we look at Milan, whose situation is similar because Milan were coming off the banter era with Pioli, who in the span of 5 years not only got them out of the banter era, he got them back into Champions League. So they've been a consistent Champions League team. They won the Scudetto. They came second last season as well, with a brand new team.
While improving the finances of the club dramatically after the Young Hong Lee era.
Exactly, which was the pinnacle of the banter era. Yes. Now what Milan have is a new manager in Fonseca, and a new board. They have new owners, new everything through Redbird. Redbird clearly, and from the information that Alan was kind enough to send us, and from the interviews that we saw as well, we don't know if these interviews...
They happened a while back. They were only released recently.
Due to fan protests, probably.
The Harvard released some documents that a report that Furlani had commented on, or something like that, from what I've understood. You're going to continue your point?
Yes. And clearly the goal over here is to increase Milan's revenue, to balance the books, to make Milan profitable, to somewhat Americanize and franchise the Milan brand, to make it an appealing brand, so on and so forth. And it just seems like when it comes to decision making, they're a little bit off. They hired Zlatan, who's supposed to be the main motivator, without a sporting director. And it seems like Furlani is making the calls when it comes to the players to sign. Something is happening there because players are renewing. But one key problem was the hiring of Fonseca. And Fonseca doesn't have the same man management skills that Pioli had. Because with Pioli, no fucking player was complaining. In the last season, Giroud and Calabria said we didn't know whether to defend or attack against Napoli. Over there, it had a bit of a boiling point after 5 years. It's expected. They had high expectations. They had just brought in Pulisic and all these guys. But Fonseca, from the start, what it seems that he has a divided dressing room. People that are all in, people that are all out, and people that are... they don't know where they stand with him.
And I think that it might not even be about Fonseca. It might be about the situation at Milan. It's essentially a political situation because the firing of Maldini disrupted an entire ecosystem.
That's what started
started everything. And I'm sure that's mainly why Theo and Leao were protesting. And I remember Leao even taking to his Instagram stories with a what the fuck, Yeah. So yes, many questionable decisions. Hiring Fonseca was one that, to be honest, it was the first of many. It set the tone for the decisions that they were going to be making, because the manager, if you want to be a team that competes, is the most important thing. You go for a high caliber. If you're going to invest in the team, you invest in a manager, and then you had enough players to actually have a decent season if you just got a better manager. But whatever, they went for Fonseca, algorithm, whatever, okay. Potentially because he's a little bit easier, maybe a bit of a yes man, quite an exciting style, attractive. You can build a brand around it, you have marketable players, attractive football, whatever. Then you have Salamakers in your team, and you have Kalulu. Two players who are totally deployable, totally fine, who contributed to Milan winning the league, who played an important part.
And they're cheap.
And Salamakers has just come off a great season at Bologna, where his growth just fucking improved so quickly,
Yeah.
He had a really good season at Bologna, and he's having another good season now at Roma since his return. Kalulu and Tomori conceded 2 goals in the last nine games, was it, of that season when Milan won the league. And suddenly you're going to sell them for dirt cheap, and you're going to bring in 2 replacements who aren't even better, man.
No. Abraham and fucking...
Yes, and Chukwueze, man. You bring in Chukwueze and the Salamakers position. Honestly, I'd rather have Salamakers. You bring in Emerson Royal over Kalulu. Are you serious? 20 million on each Are you fucking
joking? It's bad business at the end of it. And you look at, the only player that was signed last transfer market, and correct me if I'm wrong, that has really left a mark on this team is Fofana. Because he is the player that Milan needed. Striker-wise, Milan lost Giroud. What the hell did they do giving Jovic the 9 and extending him?
That was another weird one.
Extended him again. They lose Zirkzee. They're like, no, because we're going to pay the agent, the agency commission. Extend Jovic, give him the 9.
And then drop him.
Then drop him. What the hell are you doing? And then you bring in Morata and Tammy Abraham, which profile-wise, we're going to talk about profiles, hard-working players, technically gifted with the ball at their feet, that play with their back towards goal, that drop deep and bring the wingers in. Nice, man. Profile-wise, they really fit. They can't shoot a fucking ball, though, man. They can't shoot a ball. I can make a 10-minute compilation of their misses this season, bro.
It's incomplete because then they don't have the profiles in midfield who can enter the box and score those goals when Morata drops deep. There's no trequartista, we're seeing Liberali having to play now. Exactly. So there are obvious gaps in the team. Benacer, we know he's injury prone, so why didn't Milan sign another midfielder?
Yeah.
But yes, all these problems, and despite these problems, there are positives, as you alluded to. Manyan is close to signing an extension. Reinders is close to signing an extension. All these players are rumored to be close to signing an extension. There were more, I can't remember off the top
Theo
of my head.
as well.
Yeah, Theo as well. Even despite all that's happening. Zoe's pregnant. I'm sure that has a massive part of it.
100%.
He's probably like, we're going to leave. I'm really unhappy. And she's like, fucking my ass. You're leaving.
Exactly.
You're not going
leave me and the kids.
Exactly.
Morata.
So thank you,
Morata, fine.
Yeah, exactly. So despite all this, there are positives. The interview of Furlani basically spoke about Milan as kind of a brand, exactly, and how he mentioned that in American sports, the biggest brands aren't always the ones who win. Where in Italy, the culture is trophies. You have to win trophies.
Absolutely.
I think for him, the objective is finishing in the top 4, growing the brand, and pushing in the Champions League, of course, because that's the international stage. You need to find the balance. And I'm happy that the fans are protesting because he's in it for the long run. Furlani, for sure. He's not going to sell the club anytime soon, despite them telling him to sell the club. Hopefully he listens. Hopefully a sporting director must be hired.
Look, if you want to focus on growing the brand, just employ someone to look after the fucking football.
Exactly.
Just employ someone, not Zlatan, not fucking Zlatan. Employ a Giuntoli of sorts, man. A Marotta of sorts. Someone that can help you get the results. Because if you grow a brand in Italy, but you have an entire fan base hating you, then you're not doing shit. Like, congrats, you're growing the brand. The brand isn't what people care about. Just one more question before we move on. Firstly, one statement and one question. Of course, the Super Cup is coming up, and it's coming up soon, January, where Milan will face Juve. So we'll have the two
it's a
teams.
Tournament, nowadays.
Yeah. There's the semi-finals and the final.
Yeah.
As it was last year in Saudi. We're gonna have 22 men with their balls out, supposedly, with 3 spectators in Riyadh. It wasn't there that whole thing last season. They're super disappointed, the Arabs.
They were like, who the hell are these? Where are Milan?
Where are the fans?
Exactly.
How much of the responsibility is down to the players? We're talking about the politics, we're talking about the managers. How much of the responsibility is it for the players to say, fuck this, fuck that, let's go in and give it our 120%?
I think when it comes to Vlahovic's attitude when being substituted and his attitude in general, the way he carries himself, that's on him. I think Cambiaso running into the opposition players in the 90th minute and losing the ball is on him. I think Theo having a stroll in the park when Milan desperately need a goal to win is on him as well. You can see a stark contrast between the players who are fighting for the victory and the players who aren't. And I think there are certain individuals who need to get their act together, and this message mostly goes to them.
Yeah. And just a plea from my end, and I think I speak for most fans, is players. When you're playing for Milan, when you're playing for Juve, play for the badge, don't play for the manager. You don't have to play for the manager. The managers come and go, the club lives on forever. You come and go, the club stays on forever. Play for the badge and the fans will love you even more.
Exactly. One more question, bro.
Okay.
Why doesn't Fonseca, just a thought, move Jimenez to the right and play him as an inverted fullback? Because you can't.
He will.
You're not going to bench Theo for Jimenez. That's not going to happen. That's like benching Leao for Okafor. You're not going to do that. Like you do it for a bit, but then you go back to your best player, the player who is rumored to be worth over 50 million. I think that's the way to do it. Jimenez has played 3 different positions in the last game. He's really good, man.
You know what you get? Lack of balance, because you like having the right back that's more conservative. You like having the left back that's more.
But he puts in a shift defensively.
He does,
as well.
bro. I'm all for it, and I think if there's one thing I can't criticize Fonseca for, he tries it, bro. He'll do it.
He might have, but he pushed for the signing of Emerson Royal.
Legend. So really good Fonseca. An eye for talent you have.
So we'll see if he's proud, essentially. Because if he's proud, he'll keep playing him. Because in my opinion, Calabria should be playing.
He'll do it. For sure he'll do it. I'll bet money.
So he's been quite experimental.
So a bit lower down or higher up in the table. A bit higher up in the table. We have Bologna and Fiorentina. That's a kind of battle that's going on. They just had a head-to-head that Bologna took advantage of the disarray that Fiorentina, the mental kind of struggle that they're going through right now. Obviously, Palladino had his very serious off-field. It's tough to call it a distraction, but for football, it's a distraction in that sense. There was the distraction of Bove,
who was on the bench last game. Not called up to the squad, but nice to see him happy.
Yes. Whereas on the other hand, so Fiorentina had that spell. The spells come and go, but you can't deny Fiorentina's quality. We know what they're pushing for. They're pushing for Champions League. Bologna seem to not be doing that. But then time passes. You're like, fuck me, man. They've been on some run. Bologna.
They had snuck up on everyone.
They had one big loss. I believe it was to Lazio, and they lost 3-0. And after that, win after win after win.
Yeah, they lost 3-0 to Lazio, and then they smacked Venezia to get their confidence up. They beat them 3-0, then they beat Monza 4-0, and they drew to Juve, as everyone else does. And yeah, they've been on a run ever since. So
8 games, 6 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw since the postponed Milan game.
Let's talk about the situation that happened in the Bologna-Fiorentina game first. So, of course, this was a return to his former team for Italiano, right? He was managing Fiorentina. And he had a little bit of a tasteless celebration at the end of the game where he went absolutely mental at the victory, and he was clapping and jumping and applauding the fans. And the Fiorentina board came out and said that it was disrespectful, and he showed them what kind of man he was. And in an interview, Italiano went on to say, I do that every game. I don't see what the problem is. I won.
I mean, if he doesn't get what the problem is, I mean, it's no secret in football you show respect to your former teams. But I think for managers it's a bit different.
Is it though?
It is a bit different. But you have the likes of Motta, who is an Inter legend, who will take the Juve job. Players hold back.
Yes, but they're applauded. If they're respectful, they're applauded. And most of the time when a manager returns to a previous stadium, they're applauded.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to get the fans against you. Italiano's not going to be applauded ever again. He got them to 3
It was such a weird decision
finals.
Because he was successful.
Exactly. Why would he provoke his fans? I guess he must have had a falling out or something.
There must be something behind the scenes that we weren't.
Because to provoke them like that, to rub salt in their wounds after all they've been through the season,
literally,
it's just tasteless.
It is tasteless. It's hella tasteless. And you know me. We disagreed when there was the whole Zaniolo thing against Roma. I'm very much like, show respect to your former employers. Sometimes you have to stick it to them, and that's if there was something behind the scenes that we're not aware of. But it's so good being the bigger man sometimes, man. And it shows even more character, and it shows even more balls when you're the bigger man than when you just start fucking celebrating like a madman because you beat your former employers.
What do you think about Fiorentina's situation? So they are in 5th right now with 31 points. They have a game in hand, of course, against Inter.
Yes.
Do you think that this is the start of a downward trajectory, or were they just overachieving and now they've hit a few?
I don't think they were overachieving. I think they started off the season quite slowly, quite cautiously, and then they went on a bit of a run, and now they went through a tight fixture list A, because obviously they're playing in Europe, they're playing in the Coppa, and playing in the league. They have certain players that haven't hit it off yet. The thing happened with Bove. The thing happened with their manager, Palladino.
Yeah, they had a tough gig against LASK in the Conference League as well. They edged it, man, 7-0.
And now they lost to Udinese. They got knocked out of the Coppa against Empoli. They lost to Bologna. So they're going through a tough time. I still think that they can improve. And this is after, even throughout their great spell, I still thought that they can improve. Once Goodmanson gets going, once or if Colpani gets going, that is already going to be a significant improvement. I think right now it's more mental than it is what the team can do. Palladino's an excellent manager. They have an excellent team. He brings the best out of these players. And I think, I don't think this is a downward spiral for them. They will continue to fight for Champions League until the end. It's very competitive. What do you think?
I think they were very unlucky this game against Udinese. I think that it was quite an undeserved loss. I think a draw would have been the fair result.
Moment of brilliance.
Even if you look at their XG, it was over 2. And Udinese's wasn't even 1. So to lose 2-1 with those XGs, it's very telling, right?
Yeah.
There were quite a few big chances missed. And you look at Keane. Keane missed 2 chances that could have given them the lead, and then one before his goal as well. I think they've been pretty unlucky. They were pretty unlucky this game, but that won't last. You know, the important thing is that the players recover. They continue to do well. In fact, I have some notes over here. Fiorentina have gone through. No. Where did I put it? I found a stat. I think maybe in the
listener questions.
If so, I'll mention it later on. Okay, don't worry about it.
Okay, I think they have a lot of positive. Firstly, I think it's how they get out of this situation that will define a lot. Because teams will all have a tough spell. Even when Napoli won the league, even when Inter won the league, when Milan won the league, they all had tough spells. But it's how you get out of the tough spell, right? And we'll really see the character of the team, of this new team, because it's still very fresh with Fiorentina, with Goodmanson, Keane, Colpani, Palladino. You know, it's a very, very Comuzzo at the back. It's a very, very new team. So it's how they recover from the situation together as a team. That's going to build that camaraderie. That's going to build that. They have a lot of great signs. Keane has been incredible for them. De Gea has been incredible. Comuzzo has been insane. So there's a lot of positives.
You've reminded me of the stat. I believe it was that Keane is the fastest player to hit
in the world.
He's the fastest player in the world. He's the fastest player to hit 10 goals, I believe, in a single season in Serie A.
And thus 10 griddies.
Since Gilardino for Fiorentina.
Damn. 10 goals, 10 griddies, huh?
10
Fuck
griddies.
Assists. That's the...
Lucky us.
Those are the numbers. We got 10 goals, 10 griddies. At least he's consistent with the griddy. We've seen Pulisic hit it. We've seen Leao hit it, but not enough. We need to see the griddy more.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, and then Bologna, it's like the opposite of Fiorentina, because now they found their identity. And they found their Xerxes replacement. It was all the discussion about bringing in someone tall, good in the air, someone like Dallinga. He got his first goal, amazing, whatever, whoop the fucking do. Castro is their Xerxes replacement. Castro is the guy that is dropping in deep and playing defense-splitting balls the same way Xerxes used to do. Castro is the future. He really has taken them to the next level, and it is not solely down to him, but the way that he's been embracing that side of his game has really propelled Bologna onto a new level, because it's allowing Ndoye to get all these goals that he's getting. It's allowing this new Dominguez guy to find space and to break into the box and score goals.
Odegaard as well has been thriving.
Pobega
as well, 4 goals.
In the pivot, Pobega playing in an Italiano system once again, and him knowing the manager and the manager knowing him, has really added that stability to allow what's his name in the Freuler, to allow Freuler to play these passes, and it allows Pobega to be that box to box, to be that crusher, to put in the late run into the box, and they've just become this team that clicks. It's like Motta's Bologna of last season. They have a team that clicks now.
It's true. It took some time. The important thing is that they weren't really losing at the start of the season, many draws. But now everyone's growing into it. Ferguson's back from injury and he's slowly being reintegrated. Dallinga came on and scored. He got his first goal. His confidence is going to be high. He might start playing a bit better now. Holm has been very good. He had a very slow start to the season. He was nowhere to be seen. And we even mentioned that De Silvestri was being favoured over him just 3 weeks ago. And now Holm hasn't stopped playing and he's playing really well. I believe he's on 2 assists already.
Yeah.
Odegaard as well is playing very well. And he's even got a celebration that we see every time we go on the highlights now. We can his his golf swing celebration.
Bro, Miranda's
playing very well, offensive fullback as well. And then, man, their most important player, in my opinion, Beukema.
Beukema has been their defense has been solid. Their defense has been solid.
Beukema can ping a long ball.
Yeah,
he's very solid defensively. He's very good, man.
Yeah. So I think, if you had to say Bologna, Fiorentina, who finishes higher, I think I'd still say Fiorentina in a funny way.
So how would you say it like this? No. Who finishes higher, Bologna or Fiorentina? Bologna.
So now I think we can jump to the Roman teams after that very bold prediction from you. Roma and Lazio, another 2 teams that are on like opposite spectrums right now. Of course, Lazio having the much better season. They're in the top 3. Roma basically were relegation candidates up until their 5-0 victory against Parma.
And correction, in the top 4.
In the top 4, sorry. But Lazio have just started to, obviously, their streak came to an end. They just lost 6-0 to Inter, and then they scraped a 2-1 victory away against...
Come on, brother, you can do this.
You say as you look up the game yourself.
It was yesterday, bro. It was Lecce.
Against Lecce. And now they both have tough games coming up, basically.
Yes, so first of all, let's start off with Roma. So Ranieri, once again, seems to be kind of figuring out what works for him. He seems to have found his mold. Sally out wide, Angelino out wide to make use of his offensive prowess, because he's better suited as a wing back, I think, than a third centre back, in my opinion. Paredes as the dictator from the movie Sacha Baron Cohen. A 3-man backline and Dobbik with bodies around him, because he's quite a good support striker. He played really well this game. So I think when it comes to Roma, this is the first positive sign, because not only did they win, but they won in a way that they probably forgot what it feels like, the Roma fans. So very convincing, to be honest, very solid looking, and many bright sparks with Dybala playing well, even though, it's always rumoured, where's Dybala going to be? Is the coach being made to not play Dybala? Will Dybala be sold in January? And he comes up with a performance like this right before Christmas. Salamaker is coming back and hitting the ground running. Good signs for them. And they already had Kone, who's a fuori classe in that team, I think, as well. He's very good.
No, it's like I said earlier. It feels like with Mourinho, they had it one very particular way. And then with De Rossi, they had it another very particular way. Then with Juric, again, the Mourinho kind of system with the players not matching.
Stylistically,
that whole thing. But Ranieri's come in and he's kind of merged the 2 systems into a balanced system with a mixture. He's made the players fit in. Like Pellegrini and Cristante, who were almost scapegoats for out of the team. fuck seniority, fuck this and that. We're going to have El Shaarawy, we're going to have Dybala, and in the midfield for the pure balance, for a team that wants to play dominant possession-based football as well, we're going to have Paredes, and we're going to have Kone, or we're going to have Lefebvre, or anyone that comes in over there that can partner Paredes in that way. So he's really mixed the new era of Roma and the old era of Roma. Like, I would have never guessed that El Shaarawy will be playing in this team. But he's done a great job at that, and I think the way that the team lined up again distracts you when I move my hand.
Yeah, because you hit the table.
I tapped the table.
This fucking guy.
Oh my god.
No, it's true. He found a way to kind of play the players who weren't meant to be for the system.
But now he has the test. Because now he has Milan, then he has Lazio, then he has Bologna. He has those 3 games coming up. So he's either going to stick to this team that got him success against Parma or not. Now we're going to find out if this is the team.
I think he... the fact that he didn't even make any substitutions this game was a very telling sign. And the fact, like...
He didn't make any subs in this game.
I believe he didn't make any subs, man, if I'm not mistaken. I might be saying something absolutely ridiculous, but I don't recall Roma making a sub when watching. Let me take a quick look, which is crazy when you're pounding a team like that. You'd think he wants to try out some new players. But let's confirm that. Yes, no substitutions made. Which basically means, like, get to know each other, no? Keep going. Let's build confidence. Yeah. We're scoring. Let's keep scoring. Let's find new ways of playing to each other's strengths.
Yeah, which
is a very good sign, in my opinion. Bizarre, especially when you have other players who could benefit from some playing time on the bench. Likes of Pellegrini, for example, could do with some confidence. Lefebvre is a player who could have been introduced as well. Baldanzi is a player as well.
Definitely. Soler the most out of all of them.
But I think this was Ranieri saying that this is my team.
Yeah.
Go out there and work on your confidence.
Lazio, on the other hand, they were super high on confidence, man. Then they lost fucking 6-0 to Inter. Absolutely. And then they had to grind to beat 10-man Lecce. And they're, of course, still on top in the Europa League standings. But now, after this spell of shit... they need to face Atalanta, and then they have the Derby della Capitale. How will this lack of confidence affect them in those big games? Or is a big game enough to motivate you?
So, Hila got injured against Inter.
Yeah.
And he was substituted by Gigot, who is still getting used to the league.
Yeah.
Scored a goal, okay, whatever, but... Against Inter, you have to know the league, you have to be flawless, you have to know how to defend the Italian way, right? Yeah. And he was so bad that they subbed him out again. Yeah. They brought him in the 28th, subbed him out in the 46th, and they had to use a makeshift centre back in Marusic. And this pretty much contributed to Inter's dominance, their domination of Lazio. You look at the starting 11, of course, it's very offensive. So Baroni took full responsibility for going this gun-ho kind of 11 that he's been going. I think that losing 6-0 once is better than losing 1-0 twice. 6-0. Losing 6-0 once is better than losing 1-0 twice. I mean, especially if you bounce back. That's the important thing.
Losing 6-0 at home at the Olimpico in front of your fans.
It's absolutely terrible. It sucks.
That's like...
But you're losing 3 points at the end of the day.
Yes.
So the important thing is that it didn't affect them mentally, and Baroni clearly has a strong team because they had all the challenges in the world against Lecce. Granted, they were down a man, but then they scored, and humiliation comes to mind. Imagine we draw to 10-man Lecce, what it's going to look like under Giampaolo. They've been quite a good team. So the important thing for them is they managed to bounce back.
And I think for their goals of the season, it's not too much of a setback because, again, like you said, they dropped 3 points against Inter. Now, of course, it's humiliating, and they'll go through a negative spell due to that because it's embarrassing, bro. You lose 6-0 at home. It's the worst case scenario, like 6 past you and you don't score a single goal. It's fucking beyond embarrassing. Like, to a degree, I'd rather lose 1-0 twice than lose 6-0 at home, bro.
It depends, because usually 6-0 has repercussions. The following games usually are also losses because of the psychological factor.
What are Lazio's goals this season? To me, the way that I see it is top 4 and a run in Europa.
I think Lazio's goals going into the season, their objectives would be to qualify for European football. I don't think it was necessarily top 4. At this point, it must be a target for them because they're there, you know. I might as well try to maintain it. So yeah, I think that's
that paired with a run in Europe would be a very successful season. Do they need any reinforcements in January?
They need a
midfielder and a centre back.
They need a centre back for sure. Speaking of centre backs, you saw Romagnoli after the last game against Lecce. What? Romagnoli does this thing, instead of taking off his t-shirt after a game, he takes off his shorts. He's been doing it since Milan.
What the fuck are you
doing?
But
he was wearing a Christmas hat, the kit, his underwear, and that's it. And walking around, you know, parading the pitch.
That's so weird.
Take
your shirt off, man. I mean, don't know why. That's
what's bothering you.
Just don't take your fucking pants off, man. That's weird, man. It's weird.
It must be Italian. I remember Gattuso doing it.
But Gattuso did it in a cool way, in a Viking way. Romagnoli does it. It's weird. He's all Gattuso.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird.
It is weird. I mean, I thought it was weird. When I looked at my TV, the first thing I said was, that's weird. So the relegation battle, I think we're coming on to
one sec.
Please.
I think they need a midfielder as well, because their only replacement for both these guys at this point is Della Bashiru, and their attacking midfielder is a striker. So I wouldn't mind if they bring in some reinforcements in midfield to help out Guendouzi, Androvella, and Della Bashiru.
Fair enough. Let me just take a quick look at their bench to see... because Castrovilli, not really reliable. Another midfielder wouldn't be bad. Yeah, absolutely.
I think of that to make
a centre-back is the urgent call, I think, but yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's it. So moving on to relegation. So Venezia, first of all, are off the bottom spot for the first time since early November.
Yes, huge win against Cagliari for them. Huge win.
Matchday 17 saw Venezia, as we mentioned in the intro, the only team to get points. And they did it by beating Cagliari 2-1 in a relegation 6-pointer. And last week, Matchday 16, we had quite a few victories from the bottom teams and quite a few positive results. So Como beating Roma 2-0. Lecce beating Monza 2-1 at home. Verona beating Parma 3-2 away from home. Massive for Zanetti.
Huge.
And Genoa and Venezia holding Milan and Juve. So that was that's just very telling as to what the relegation battle looks like this year, because it can go any way. And I don't even think Monza will get relegated personally. And they're lost.
Let's not go to let's not make any predictions, but I get you. I think I agree. Whatever, sharp. Let's just... You mentioned the results. That means that Monza are currently in last place on 10 points. Venezia, one before the last, 13th. Cagliari, the last team in the relegation battle, in 18th place on 14 points. Above them in 17th, 16th and 15th are Verona, Como and Parma, all on 15 points. Then in 14th and 13th we have Lecce and Genoa, both on 16 points. There is no team that is obviously relegated. There are no teams that are obviously relegated. One thing that we see, which is a trend with relegation candidates, is how quickly they take a positive turn after employing a new manager. The only question is how sustainable will it be? Will it go on? It really worked for Lecce last season when they got Gotti. They remained consistent. But when Parma got Blessin, it was good for a while. When Genoa, got Blessin, it was good for a while, and then they didn't improve basically. So we've seen Genoa and Lecce improving under new management. In fact, they're 13th and 14th. They're the only two teams on 16 points over here. Now Monza sacked Nesta. So we'll see how that shakes things up for Monza with a new manager, because I assume with Monza's team we're gonna see a huge improvement from them. I think Nesta was limiting them a lot. And Parma play Cagliari next, so that's another 6-pointer coming up that's really gonna shake things up. The crazy thing about this is how quickly it shifts and it turns and it changes, you know?
And each team has unique advantages. For example, Genoa have have one of the worst sides in the bottom 6. What is it, 7? I think
right now due to injuries.
Right now due to injuries, of course, and that is their big problem compared to the other teams as well, is that they have serious injuries and recurring injuries as well. But they have, for example, the advantage of home support, along with Cagliari, who also have a similar advantage in the fact that their stadium is a fortress and it's very difficult to play against them over there. Lecce have a new manager who usually is slow to warm up to. He's a reserved introvert who doesn't communicate much, and usually his style takes a while to implement. They've hit the ground running with him, and the assumption is that it will only get better as they learn his principles of football. So it should be the other way around. They should have had a slow start to life with Gianpaolo, but somehow it worked the other way around. Same goes with Genoa, instant results. Como have players.
Yeah.
They have a better team than most of these.
Even Parma.
Same with Monza. But Parma have good starters.
Yeah.
Their depth isn't that much. And the fact, for example, that they lost Bernabé is massive for them. And it's really affected them negatively. And same goes, by the way, for Lecce losing Gaspar. That is a ginormous injury.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how important an injury is enough, especially when the guy replacing him is Gabby Jean. And the only thing I know about Gabby Jean...
Say it, man, say it.
...is that he is not my lover and the kid is not my son.
Fucking facts, bro. Fuck Gabby Jean.
I don't know much about Gabby Jean.
No, that's literally the only thing we know about Gabby Jean.
The only thing I prepared about Gabby Jean is a joke. He's 24 years old. He is French. He's a defender, wears the number 19, and he was signed on a free from Annecy.
You know what's positive for Monza, despite them being in last place and not having a win in their last 6? They have the best goal difference out of these teams.
That's because they actually weren't playing badly under Nesta. It was just the fact that they couldn't get results, man.
Yeah.
That's it. And the fact that as well, man, certain players like Maldini couldn't find their groove, man, when it comes to especially the final third under Nesta. Hopefully the new manager can get the best out of these players, because they do have a few very creative players, Monza.
Absolutely.
But yes,
that's my favorite part of each season and of the episode. Not much more to add over here. Let's fucking see, bros.
Yes, let's see. And I think this season it has relegation playout written all over it.
100. Oh my god, we'll go watch it.
I'm totally in for that. Yes. So shall we move on to our listener questions?
Let's, brother. Let's.
Okay, we've got them all quite a few. Of course, we will be prioritizing our patrons. Shout out to Steve, who asked if this could be Atalanta's year. We discussed it early on in the episode, so we won't be doing that. Tanino Batman Choco Loco, the patron with the coolest name behind 100%. Andrew Batman, asked us, how about your Serie A most frustrating 11? Not necessarily the worst players or underperformance, but the players that are liable to drive you nuts as a fan or a coach. Think the likes of Theo or Zalewski, he said. Let's say you can't put more than 2 players from each team. And then he also added,
Oh god, I did. I forgot to read that part.
He also added, I would have Jeremy Menez in my all-time 11. I absolutely agree. I would have every striker who wore the 9 for Milan, between Inzaghi and Giroud. Mandzukic, Piontek, Higuain, Andre Silva, Lapadula, Luis Adriano, Destro, Torres, Matri, Pato.
I think I need to make a change because I have 3 from the same team.
And the current 9 is Jovic, by the way. You have 3 from...
3, I have 4 from the same team.
Really? And
this could Milan? Be a Milan 11, bro.
Yeah, in fact, let me swap out Milan players.
Let me just read it as it is.
Okay. Shall we... What formation did you go for?
I went 4-3-3.
Same here, so we can do a position each.
Keeper.
So, I went Provedel.
Provedel is a good one.
Who did you go?
Manyan. Just best keeper in the league. Yeah. Best keeper in the league. Love him. Amazing. But the injuries.
Yeah.
That is the frustration point is he's so good. But then he gets injured and he sometimes has spells where he doesn't know what the near post is, or
he's a little bit theatrical as well. He frustrates me as well. But
like when you need him to whip out a long ball quickly, but he's enjoying the camera time a little bit. He's a superstar, man. Yeah, and he's excellent. He's an eagle. He deserves to be looked at, but I think he knows it a bit too much at times, and he's theatrical as hell.
Providel's a little bit error prone. I think that's it. That's the only. And moody, yes, he's moody. So when
go all defenders, then I'll go all defenders.
Okay, Zalewski, Tomori, Toure, Theo.
Zalewski, Tomori, Toure, Theo. So we have two similar ones. I put Celik, Toure, Danilo, Theo.
I have Danilo as an honorable mention, but that's a fucking
and interesting.
Very frustrating.
Zalewski. I think Celik is more frustrating than
But Celik, I don't actually expect much from him. Zalewski, look at how he plays for Poland and you look at how he plays for Roma, or the fact like he'll beat a man with a burst of pace and then cross it over the crossbar.
Yeah,
very frustrating. Theo, of course, it's very obvious. Toure is frustrating because I don't know.
Red cards and own goals.
Just red cards and
those
own
are his goals and assists, like red cards and own goals.
And Tomori, because we've seen him play amazingly and be very solid. But he also gets this random rush of blood to his head where he leaves his position.
Red card in 10 minutes against Atletico.
Or he just runs out of his position, totally exposing it, and they just play a through ball into the gap he left. Leaving them one-on-one. Okay, midfield 3.
You go, now I go.
Gaetano, Musa, Pellegrini.
Gaetano, Musa, Pellegrini. That's good. One of them is weird. I went Choftis, Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Choftis is a good shout. I'm going to replace Musa with Choftis.
Nice. Pobega, just because he has that rush of blood to the head. His red card most recently. And he often, for Milan, he had these games where he couldn't pick out a single pass, bro. He is frustrating. Italiano's really playing him to his strengths. And then I have Moro because of his stupid fucking face, man. It frustrates me so much. He has the face, man, of someone that pisses me off, and I don't even know what he's good at. All I know is that he's annoying, man. He's always complaining to the ref. He always has this going on, fuck Moro, Allah, bro. Annoying. Fuck him.
You put Pellegrini, you said who was
No,
it?
I didn't. Moro, Pobega, Choftis.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you they're not frustrating because they are. Front 3.
Go.
Icone, Piccoli, Banda.
Icone, Piccoli, Banda. I have Kristovic.
Kristovic is an honorable mention for me as well.
Vlahovic and Tammy.
Fair enough.
Those are the ones I have.
Okay, my team's a bit more functional.
Tammy is... I like him with his back towards goal. It's just in front of goal that he's shit. The problem with Kristovic and Vlahovic is that all they have no back towards goal and then they're finishing shit.
Like Piccoli. 16 big chances missed and can be very frustrating in the link-up. Doesn't spot a pass even if the player is labelled.
And then 2 goals in 2 games on my Fanta. Most recently on my bench, losing me the game.
Icone, very frustrating. Nowhere near the player he was at Lille. And Banda, of course.
Banda.
Yeah. Yes, Robert asks, do you think Lucca would be a good fit at Milan?
Yes,
next. Would he fill the Giroud hole?
Loads.
Could be a realistic target for you guys. Yes, he is the perfect Milan mold, I think, right now. Bring him in.
Please bring him in. Bring him in. But of course, they're going to go for someone from the fucking French league. So.
Exactly. They're going to bring in Lucca. Joey D. Question: does Roberto D'Aversa deserve a shot at a bigger club like Roma given his work at Empoli this year?
This is the thing. Baroni got it, and he's been doing excellently. But my thing is, before we saw D'Aversa succeed this much, we've seen him fail a lot.
That's the thing, yeah.
And I think just if I were Torino or someone like that, I'd say I need to see another season from this guy before I sign him. But clearly, with a group of players that suit him, and for the right team, if the team fits his profile, then he can go for it this year. Because you see what he did with Empoli. He has intelligent players, he has hardworking, young Italian players, and if you put him at someone like, I don't know, Torino with Ricci and these guys, he could potentially do a good job. But again, it could very much just be a Sotil, where he has a good first half to the season, then second half is a disaster. So another season and then yes.
That's exactly what I said. In fact, I said I think he should stay there and continue to prove his worth. If the club lets go of the loanies and refuses to strengthen, then a job at Torino or Monza could be a mini upgrade for him. We've already seen him do good things at Parma. Parma, of course, when they got relegated down to Serie D, he took them from Serie G to Serie A, right? And then he was eventually sacked and rehired without sufficient results. In 2022, he was sacked by Sampdoria after collecting 20 points in 22 league games. He had a good start at Lecce, but it went stale eventually, and then he head-butted Thomas Henry and got sacked. You made the comparison to Baroni. Baroni was doing very good things at Lecce, as well before doing good things at Hellas Verona.
That's true.
So I think he needs some more time. A job at Torino or Monza could be very good for him if Empoli refuse to strengthen, basically.
Yeah.
But he's doing well, and I think he'll warrant he'll be deserving of an upgrade if he has another good season like this.
Yeah.
I found it funny, by the way. Did you see on DAZN? They were having DAZN, they were having a few technical issues, and the camera caught him saying, while he was being interviewed, "I'm going to cancel my subscription." Hilarious. And then Joey D hit us with a hot take. He said this year's Milan is more talented than the 2022 team that won the Scudetto.
Yes.
Serie A is just more competitive today versus 3 years ago, he says.
Yes, in many aspects, Milan are a much better, especially depth-wise. They're a much better. Milan had zero depth when they won the league. They didn't have depth. Only place I would say Milan were better... Striker, that's Giroud, and Giroud was the guy. I think he's better than Morata, he's better than Tammy, obviously better than Camarda in that sense for right now. And I really liked Milan's midfield. I know that Reinders Fofana is working out very well, but the balance of Bennacer, Kessie, Tonali was mental.
It's all about Kessie. Because if right now Milan had Kessie playing alongside Fofana and Reinders in the hole, that would be incredible. Because Kessie is a one-man double pivot.
Bring him back.
Honestly.
Bring him back.
He was so the moment of clarity. The post bring it back clarity. Yes. However, I'm not sure if it's because Serie A is more competitive this season. Because if you look at that season, Inter only lost 4 games that year. And granted, they drew 9, but that was the difference between Milan and Inter. Milan won 1 more game that Inter drew.
Man. The Bologna game.
Exactly.
And the head-to-heads.
86 points for Milan, 84 for Inter, 79 for Napoli. Serie A, probably when it comes to the whole picture, is more competitive this season. Yes, absolutely.
And even more teams fighting for higher level achievements.
Yeah. So yes, I would say that probably this team, is better overall than the Scudetto winning team.
Yep.
So...
Before you go...
Gavi Berkman on Instagram says Çalhanoğlu is the best ball striker in Europe. There's nothing he can't do with a football. I think with KDB struggling with fitness, with like Messi and Kroos in the latter stages of their careers, maybe you can say that Çalhanoğlu is one of the best ball strikers in Europe, of course, or strikers of the ball rather. But my question for you, Gavi, is Çalhanoğlu even the best striker of the ball at Inter? Because Federico Di Marco can whip in at 30, bro. And I'm sure that if you do a crossbar challenge, Di Marco will give him a good run for his money.
To whip a ball. Sorry, what's the exact terminology?
To strike a ball.
To strike a ball. Okay, so shooting.
I guess so, yeah. Shooting, passing, just being able to be accurate with the ball and
Arsenal
be able to strike powerfully as well, I guess.
So Arsenal, they have this massively high success rate from corners, which are taken by fucking Declan Rice.
Yes, Declan Rice can hit it pretty well, man.
Corners
and even his long range shots.
unbelievable, man, Declan Rice. I think Çalhanoğlu, he's up there, man. He's definitely top 3.
Yeah, we've seen some wild free kicks from Çalhanoğlu.
But yeah, he doesn't really score many free kicks anymore. He had scored mental one, but when he joined Milan, he stopped.
Yes. But it could also be said that nowadays Inter have set-piece routines that he can't really just take a shot from far out. They have their principles.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely one of the best ball strikers in world football.
Yeah. Adam Kauser on Instagram asks, what FM saves, if any, are you guys doing? Personally, I haven't
I really didn't get into it this year.
I don't really have time, to be honest.
And if I have time, I'd rather just sit back and play a game of FIFA because it's like super engaging. But we were fucking animals with FM, man.
Yeah. I would totally take charge of Salernitana.
Man.
If I was on FM. Bring them back up.
It's so good that you have an iPad because that, bro, it's easy to whip it out and do.
But it's limited. It's not like the desktop version.
I feel like on the laptop it takes up too much of my time, bro. The emails, man. So many emails, man.
I want the Maltese League in it. You can get it every year. Like it's totally available. Okay. At HTOMUFC on Twitter. Thank you for the shout outs. This guy's a legend. He says, as for
yes, thank you. Now I remember who you're speaking about.
As for someone who doesn't watch the lesser teams as often as you guys, but still tries to stay in the loop through the podcast, who would you give your mid-season unsung hero, underrated player, underrated team, and underrated manager so far? So I think we can start with unsung hero. I've put 3 over here.
Unsung hero, I'll go Martin Derone for Atalanta. Versatile, plays, he fits into the defensive areas when Atalanta have an injury crisis at the back. Obviously, Scalvini's been out a while for them. Kolasinac sometimes struggles with fitness, so he fits in a lot over there. And they have been significantly better with him in midfield. In midfield, he is the metronome for them. He controls everything, and his work rate is exemplary. We're talking about in that role as a captain, as a leader, you can't get it better than their own. Barely scores, barely gets assists, but he is the center of Gasperini's project.
He's irreplaceable, and he's hilarious on social media.
Yes.
I also have Mkhitaryan.
Good.
You know him well. You're a United fan. He is very, very good in the center system, and we speak very highly of him all the time. He is a very intelligent player. He knows how to use his energy. He's very hard-working, will get stuck in a slight tackle as well to win the ball back. He's often unsung because of the likes of Çalhanoğlu and Barella. And then Guendouzi at Lazio is having a very good season, as well as Rovella, but Rovella's highly rated nowadays in Italy. So Guendouzi I put.
And then, because he mentioned the minnow sides.
Then he says... unsung hero at a minnow side, at a lesser team.
So to point out 2 teams, because if we're talking about unsung or just 2 minnow sides to point out this season, to me we have to talk about Udinese and we have to talk about Empoli. Because over the past 2 seasons, these guys were relegation candidates, and they're not relegation candidates. They're both playing incredible football. Empoli have one of the best defensive records in the league. Udinese really take it to every team. They're 9th. They're in 9th place. And over there, the people that come to mind, obviously, are Empoli's manager, D'Aversa, who has changed it. He has a young Italian team, not much Serie A experience, but wow, you'd think they're a very experienced team with the way that they're playing. And his success... would not be the same if he didn't have the centre-back Ismaili and he didn't have Esposito. Esposito has been a revelation and just give Esposito the ball and let him cook.
Absolutely.
Fazzini's been out for a while. He's been linked to Fiorentina now as well. So not that much to say about him.
Unsung hero as well for Empoli, bro. Jazzy, man. He works tirelessly. He gave that really clever throw-in in the last game that led to the goal as well. Yeah, he's a workhorse.
We've memed
and he's
him
versatile a lot. Yes.
And then Udinese, obviously, you have to mention Runjaic and everything Runjaic has been doing, but Jaka Bijol,
yes,
and Lorenzo Lucca and Tuvon. Bijol statistically wins the most headers in the league. And he's a centre-back. So you can imagine how pivotal that is. And he gets goals. Thuvon, one of the most gifted players on the ball that there is in the league, and what's his position, I don't know. Because fucking second striker, attacking midfield, right winger, left winger, he can do them all, and he puts in a shift in all of them. I've seen him in midfield as well. And he's their captain, took the number 10, so a lot of weight on his shoulders. Luka, the most underrated striker in the league, 6'6" or 6'7", incredibly. You'd think that he just has a great header of the ball, but super technically gifted
and smart. You see him dictating the play of the ball, telling his teammates where to pass. He's very vocal.
Young man, and
he knows when to get a smart yellow card as well. He's a smart foul, like to draw those. He's very good, and you can tell he's come up from Serie B, man, because he has a lot of dirty elements to his game, which are very important.
His previous employers are Ajax, so you can imagine what he's learned from there, man.
Yes, exactly. And Udinese have as many wins as Milan and Juve, right? Empoli, of course, don't score much, but they've conceded the same amount as Atalanta, and Roma have lost 2 more games than them. So that just puts everything into perspective. Yes. Shout out to Beukema and Hila as well for underrated players. Yes, but we can move on. Arthur at Better Call Keenan on Twitter asks, what is your honest opinion about Vlahovic at Juventus this season?
Honestly, because strikers are good at one of 2 things typically. You rarely find such a well-rounded striker that they're great at all these things. You've got the Erling Haalands who are bad with the ball at their feet, but then if you give them half a chance, the ball's in the net. And then you have strikers like Lukaku, like Lautaro, like all of these guys who are great with the ball at their feet. In front of goal, they can be wildly inconsistent, but they're great with the ball at their feet. A good example of someone that can do it both, funny enough, is Luka. To say it bluntly, there's Morata and Tammy who are good at one of those things, for example. Vlahovic, who's supposed to be the guy who don't play him the ball outside of the area. Play him the ball inside the area on the break, play him through dead ball situations. That's where he's supposed to be good. And Motta, because he likes a striker like Zirkzee, is trying to involve Vlahovic more outside the box, playing the ball to his back towards goal. And he struggled significantly over there. But then what happens when he gets a chance? Most of the times, he fumbles it. And what does he do when he gets a goal? Shushes, over-celebrates, grabs his balls, gets overly cocky, which shows to me a bad attitude.
There's obviously a lot of pressure on Vlahovic, coming from the fact that he has to adapt to a system that he isn't exactly comfortable in, the fact that he makes 12 million euros a season, making him the highest paid player in Serie A. That puts too much pressure on him, and the
poor
fans
guy.
as well. No, it's true. It's true.
Poor
though.
bastard.
It's true.
Coach, I think you're paying me too much. It's putting pressure on me right now. Let's go down to 9.
There's a lot of pressure on him, and he's not handling it well.
Exactly.
And he's very frustrating, and he's frustrated, quite frankly. And I think he needs competition in that role, because he can't keep playing regularly like this. He needs some time to calm down and to find himself. And to be honest, for Motta to kind of figure out how to utilize him well, because it's not only his problem.
No,
he's not being utilized to his strengths. Like, granted, you have your system, but this player is very good at certain things, and you're not exploiting his.
But how long are we going to use that excuse for? Because it was the same thing under Allegri. We used to say he's not being played to say. At some point, if you're a star player, if you're a player that someone brings in for 60 million and you make 12 million a season in Serie A for Juve, then sometimes you need to fucking shoot the ball from 30 yards out and it goes top bins and you carry your team. Yildiz is doing that. You know what I mean? Nico Gonzalez is doing it.
I think with Allegri, he had the problem of being isolated all the time, and now with Motta, he has the problem of having to drop too deep. So essentially, it's true that two managers didn't get the best out of him.
I would sell him in summer.
I would as well. I mean, and I'm sure that's the idea.
You'd make 40 million if you were to sell him at this point.
Yeah. Laylo on X at Laylo Logician. These names are incredible. Any young or new players to the league who I should be paying attention to who don't play for a top team? So, Ange Boni of Parma, striker, very good. Castro of Bologna, very good as well. Of course, Nico Paz, we talk about him all the time. Patrick Dorgu for Lecce is very, very good. Michael Caioda at Fiorentina is very good. Belayan at Hellas Verona is a very good midfielder as well. Very good regista.
I don't know what it means by top team, but Castro, 100% at Bologna. He's at this moment in time their best player. He's defining their system for them.
And Comuzzo Fiorentina
absolutely.
is an absolute dog of a centre back. He's really good. I also enjoy Prati of Cagliari. He's got a bright future. He's very young. He's a regista as well. There are lots of young talents in Italy.
Absolutely, the Espositos.
Yes.
Particularly a lot of young talent at Empoli.
Speaking of the Espositos, TJ Hearson on Instagram asks, which of the 27 Esposito brothers do you think will have the better overall career, with them all having a good season? I still think the Empoli Esposito is the best one.
Yes, but I really have high expectations for Francesco Pio, man.
The regista?
No, he has 9 goals, 1 assist
this season.
He's a centre forward.
Sorry, I mix up all their names. I can't tell you who's who, man.
He's 19 years old, playing for Spezia as their top scorer. He also... No, nothing. I thought he scored in the Coppa as well, but he hasn't. 9 goals, 1 assist this season for them. He hasn't even started all of the games.
How old is he?
He was born in 2005. He's 19 years old. So that's excellent. But then again, if you look at the Espositos, they've all done this in Serie B.
Yeah.
I think the most technically gifted, if you want to give the ball to someone and let him cook, it's the Esposito in Serie A right now. Empoli Sebastian Esposito. But Pio is a little young gem, man.
And then you have the other Esposito, who plays as a regista. And I think when it comes to having a system player, he could be very good. Because the Esposito in Serie A at the moment has a lot of flair and is a little bit wild. You know, he's a dribbler, that type of player. Yeah. But when it comes to having a player who fits in a system, the regista Esposito is very good.
I think, but if you want to judge a player, it's where they're playing right now and what they're doing now. I think with Sebastiano being so pivotal in Empoli's system, which is they're surprising everyone in Serie A. I think he has to take it at the moment. Pio will be snapped up by a Serie A team next year, but 9 goals,
probably maybe
19 years old. Even if he ends the season with 9 goals in Serie B, he'd be snapped up.
That's true. Where should Carnesecchi be placed in the national setup, asks Frank on X at FitBafocus FC. I had never read his handle before. FitBafocus FC. Yeah, Frank's the man.
I love Frank.
Now, the interesting thing about Carnesecchi is that he's a young goalkeeper, right? Young, exciting prospect. Was playing in Serie B as well, you know, came up from the ranks. He's 24 years old, which is very young. Donnarumma, the experienced veteran goalkeeper of Italy, is 25.
Yeah, he's
so
fucked.
Donnarumma has fucked an entire generation of goalkeepers,
and
there are a lot. There's Di Gregorio, you've got Vicario, you've got all these guys. Meret, to a certain extent, is quite good as well.
Provedel,
yeah. So Donnarumma is the undisputed starter at the moment, simply because of the fact that he has experience at the highest level from the age of 16. Not to mention he's won the Euros as well and has a lot of Champions League and there's a lot of experience overall.
No, Donnarumma's uncontested.
He's won penalty shootouts himself. That's the guy you have to play, right? No. For me,
Vicario doesn't smell that. I love Vicario, but he gets nowhere near, man.
For me, Carnesecchi has to be there, though. He has to be there potentially as the second, because when it comes to mistakes and having
Di Gregorio, man.
Yes, but Di Gregorio, I mean, granted it's Perin, but he doesn't play every single game for Juve, you know what I mean? And this is only his second ever season in Serie A, you know?
It's his third.
His third?
Monza,
but He had one season at Monza, no?
No, they had gotten Cranio and then he benched Cranio.
Yes. Okay, whatever. But
it's a beautiful problem to have. But I think Carnesecchi, just because of his age, and he's the starting keeper of Atalanta, who are first day.
Exactly.
Meret should be nowhere there.
Nowhere there. So it should be Donnarumma, Carnesecchi, and then one of Di Gregorio or Vicario.
Yes. And then Vicario's good because he's in the Premier League. Faces a different kind of opposition.
It's true. And he would know a different set of players as well.
Man, it always has been the debate of if Donnarumma, because these are what substitutes are. If Donnarumma fucking breaks his leg, or who do you want to go in instead of him? Who is that guy that you want? Because
at the moment, I'd play Carnesecchi.
Part of me wants Di Gregorio, and then just to go back on everything we said. But Carnesecchi, Vicario, Donnarumma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is Reinders a possible heir to Modric at Real Madrid?
No. He's the possible heir to Frank Rijkaard at Milan. He's the heir to Pirlo. He's the heir to Seedorf. He's the heir to everyone. But he is. He's incredibly similar to Modric in the sense that he's almost incapable of losing the ball. The range that he has of passes is incredible. Funnily enough, they both wore the number 14. Modric then upgraded to the 10, obviously. Or was Modric 19? Tiny detail. But he has a very similar play style to Modric. So possibly, I just hope that he'll be the heir to one of the legends at Milan.
If he is, it's way too early for Madrid to make a move on him. They would want someone who does it on the international stage for longer. So he would need to have good performances in the Champions League for at least another season or two before Real Madrid come knocking. So I could totally see him if he continues this trajectory, but hopefully he stays at Milan. He seems very happy at Milan. He's willing to take a $3 million a year salary. Are you crazy?
What a legend, man. Thank you so much for the kid, bro. There's no player I would have wanted more like.
No problem, bro. Hopefully he doesn't leave. Frank also asks, why does Inzaghi not get heavily linked to many bigger jobs outside of Italy compared to other managers?
It's quite dumb, man.
So it must be said that, first of all, I think United were considering him at one point. However, he does have a point because a manager who has found the success that Inzaghi has found with both Lazio and Inter should have a lot of international
and he's shown it on the European stage as well. Finalists.
So I've been thinking
they
about
played better
it.
than City in the final.
I've been thinking about it, and I think it's the fact that he relies on a 3-5-2, which is kind of out of fashion nowadays in the Premier League, for example. And then these beautiful styles of football, they don't really operate with a 3-5-2. Usually you see a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-4 or these kind of things. I think that's one of the reasons, maybe the fact that he is, in inverted commas, a one-trick pony. It's a very good trick, but I think that puts some clubs off, maybe. The fact that he is an old-school disciplinarian, the fact that he focuses on the team's structure and defense, not on giving individuals the freedom to express themselves. Yeah. So what happens? You go to a team like United and you put Inzaghi there. You've got players.
They want to buy someone for 50 million.
Exactly. They want to buy players for 100 million. And
that's like, let him play his game. Why are you restricting him to this system?
That's it. That's what I think.
It's a good point. Also, I just think Serie A is overlooked. Simple as that. It's a massive part of it. If one of the top teams goes for Simone Inzaghi of Inter, everyone's going to be like, what the hell are you doing?
Perhaps.
The Prem, they don't really look at Serie A. I feel like United signed obviously Højlund, Zirkzee.
There's been a trend of scouting talent from the Serie A. You look at Arsenal, they took Calafiori, they took Tomiyasu a few seasons ago.
It's true. But I don't know. I do feel like they overlook it. Like even in historically, the Italian managers in the Prem, they've always had success.
Of course.
Conte had success over there. Ranieri had success over there. That doesn't seem they don't take too many.
Yeah.
De Zerbi.
It's true. And they take the flashy ones like De Zerbi. Exactly. Flamboyant football. Pep style,
I also think that there would be offers that we don't hear about, and I think Inzaghi is very happy in Italy and he's very happy at Inter. Inter have I don't know what it is, but Inter have pull and they keep their players, man.
Yeah, they have a good project. Marotta is, of course, the best sporting director in Italy. Good project, of course, not necessarily financially. They're
Cardinal made a point about that, and
he said they won the league and went bankrupt.
and they took it personally. We're balancing. No, you're not, bro. You're in debt. You're in
Zhang
debt.
went bankrupt, to be fair, not in debt. But yeah, our last question and hot take comes from Paul, our boy Paul on Instagram.
Yo, Paul.
He says, listener question. Do you believe that Fiorentina can finish in the top 4 due to their performances lately? I think they won't finish top 4.
I think even if
they'll get a European spot.
Even if the past few games they won them or whatever, I wouldn't have thought that they're going to go an entire season. I think there are 3 teams that are guaranteed top 4, and none of them are Juve and Milan.
Yes, exactly.
So
that fourth spot
I think is between Juve and Milan.
Bologna. God knows. But yeah, I don't think it'll be Fiorentina.
They can get Champions League if there are 5 spots. They can get Champions League. But there's Lazio as well.
There's Lazio. So
Milan aren't going to make Champions League. Milan aren't going to make Champions League.
We'll see. Apparently, it's very important to Furlani.
We'll see.
Hot take, Paul's hot take. Reinders is currently the best midfielder in Serie A. I think it's a little bit premature to say he's the best. He's maybe on the best form, but the best midfielder.
Form-wise, he's the best midfielder in the league.
At the moment. Form-wise.
I think longevity-wise, Barella has been the best midfielder in the league for the past 3 seasons.
Yes.
Even 4.
Exactly. I agree, brother.
Very good. I think that's that, and I think our new format is longer than our old format. But we did the kids.
Enjoy, guys.
We did the kids. But let us know what you think about the new format, guys. It allowed us to take your questions. It allowed us to talk a bit about the bigger picture, whilst you still get the full rundown without us trying to fill in time with certain points that we make over games. Let's think of the Serie A as the 39-game league rather than these individual little games that are played throughout. I feel like this allows us to talk about the bigger picture and the league as a whole, and then you guys can obviously engage with us more through this format.
Correction,
let us know what
38.
You think. 38 games. But yeah, that's it for this episode. We'll be back next week with the same format, judging from the feedback that you give us. Your feedback is very important to us, so do let us know. Be as upfront as you want. What did you think of this episode? And we'll take it from there.
Yes, but please let us know.
Merry fucking Christmas to all of you.
If you celebrate and if you don't.
Exactly. Happy Hanukkah. All of those things. Don't drink and drive. Don't leave your family devastated in the best part of the year. Love all of you. Take care and see you next week.
Ciao, ciao.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
In the football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.